Chapter 555. It could be said that Master Duan Li's offer had already reached Lin Yuan's expectations. Lin Yuan was a little surprised that the price had already reached his expectations with only 10 minutes left. Lin Yuan was even more surprised by what Master Duan Li had offered. Lin Yuan was sure that he did not know Master Duan Li and had never interacted with her before. Lin Yuan suspected that Master Duan Li's offer was to tempt him. The Platinum 1000 Opportunities Bismuth crystal was a kind of metal spiritual ingredient that Lin Yuan wanted to give the Source Sand's exclusive skill, Metal Consume Manifestation, when it became a platinum/fantasy breed. The diamond flashing winged snake scale was also a rare spiritual ingredient that could be used to nurture the blue flash purple butterfly. Lin Yuan had been searching for the diamond flashing winged snake scale for 2 weeks, but to no avail. Now, the items that Lin Yuan needed were being offered by Master Duan Li one after another. As for the platinum fortune sea willow, Lin Yuan was not interested in a full-grown fae like that. As a fae that lived underwater and used control and strangulation as its attacking methods, Hu Quan coveted the fortune sea willow's body more than its actual combat significance. Perhaps he had been working hard in the mansion. Master Duan Li had just sat down when the woman with the coquettish voice stood up gracefully and looked at Master Duan Li with disdain. Although the woman's voice was still coquettish, her words were filled with the fighting spirit of a venomous spider for the sake of her beauty. Let me tell you, old thing, I, Wang Fuxiang, am not afraid of anyone when it comes to money. This concubine cursed 32 husbands, 16 boyfriends, 27 male best friends, and 81 dubious partners to death. Even if you are a Class 4 creation master, this concubine's wealth isn't something you can imagine. Even if you are an old man, I will not be modest. When the woman said his name, Lin Yuan almost could not help but laugh out loud. Wang Fuxiang, what a strange name. Lin Yuan thought of all the men who had been cursed to death by this woman and felt that if there was really any horror in this world, this woman must be horror itself. Lin Yuan subconsciously checked the woman's name in the group and could not help but raise his eyebrows. Wang Fuxiang's name was, Hibiscus bears the light of spring, Xiangshui embraces the moths of summer. What a beautiful name. While speaking, the woman with the coquettish voice had already turned her head to Lin Yuan flirtatiously. I can take out 20 source-type items to exchange for the 12 beautiful little pearls in the group leader's hand. When these 12 beautiful little pearls are strung together and worn on this concubine's neck, the colorful dreamy cloud swampland on the pearls will transform into this concubine's unique pattern. Only then will it complement this concubine's beauty. As the woman spoke, she gently stroked her fair neck as if she was intoxicated by her own beauty. However, his words caused everyone's eyelids to twitch wildly. Such a top-grade heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearl was actually used as an accessory to enhance one's beauty. This kind of behavior sounded like a waste of a heavenly treasure. But if one thought about it carefully, this was indeed the case. The reason why a 9 purity heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearl was more valuable than a 9 purity elemental pearl was because it was a pure pearl. Apart from the extra point of purity, what gave the 9 purity of the elemental pearls more value was the unique luster of each elemental pearl. But even if they could understand, they were still shocked by the woman's extravagance. Many of her male compatriots cursed in their hearts, I don't care how many husbands, boyfriends, girlfriends, or lovers you have. If you squander their inheritance like this, will their coffins really be able to hold it down? Master Duan Li's face turned even redder when she heard the woman's words. The group owner has already lowered the threshold for rare and precious resources. Even if you take out 20 source-type items that are rarer than what I'm offering, I'll still have to pay. But in terms of overall value, the price is still the same. Therefore, the price you quoted is not valid. After hearing Master Duan Li's words, the woman with the coquettish voice tucked her hair behind her ear. She tilted her body sideways and raised her head, saying in a sweet voice. Among the 20 source-type items I mentioned, there is an elemental source-type item. Moreover, the contract conditions for this elemental source-type item are unusually simple. As long as a woman's body has more than 10% of the innate impurities in her body, she can contract it. Old man, how can you compare the things you've taken out with the things I've taken out? After saying that, the woman turned her head and took out a paper-like source-type item with a shake of her hand. Group owner, the elemental source-type item I'm bidding for is a wood elemental variant, paper elemental. Lin Yuan did not expect that someone would take out an elemental source-type item in his group welfare auction. When he had participated in the private auction and obtained the elemental source-type source sand, he had spent such a small price to buy it. It was because the contract conditions for source-type items like the source sand were too harsh. In a situation where it was difficult for spirit chi professionals to comprehend willpower runes, few people would be willing to sacrifice 2 willpower runes to contract a source-type item. Even if this source-type item was a rare elemental source-type item. Although the elemental source-type item paper elemental that the woman had taken out sounded a little unorthodox, the contract conditions were too simple. First of all, the elemental source-type item required the contractor to be a female. In this world, spirit chi professionals were either male or female, so half of them met the requirements. As for the requirement to remove 10% of the body's impurities, it might sound a little harsh, but it was not impossible for people with a certain amount of resources to use some means. For example, the nectar brewed by the 2 silver stamen gold luster caches in front of the Radiant Moon Palace could directly remove more than 90% of the innate impurities in the body. It could even remove 100%. The nectar brewed by the silver stamen gold luster caches after advancing to suzerain could even remove the impurities in the soul. Although there were not many spiritual ingredients in this world that could remove the impurities in the body, some spiritual ingredients could be combined and concocted into a spirit liquid by a Class 3 creation master. It was not very difficult to remove 15% of the impurities in the body. Many top factions had gone to great lengths to obtain a drop of silver stamen gold luster cassia nectar from the Radiant Moon Palace. This drop of silver stamen gold luster cassia nectar could greatly improve the effect of the concocted spirit liquid and increase the effect of removing the innate impurities in the body by 30%. Second update, asking for monthly votes and recommendation votes. There are more at night. End of this chapter. This time, I will be auctioning off the Heavenly Maiden level elemental pearls as group welfare instead of the original 9. 8 purity to 9. 9 purity. This is because I'm 2 days late. The next group welfare auction won't be auctioning the Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearls. Instead, it will be the same as the first auction. The 30 flower brocade pearls will be auctioned together. Lin Yuan's words made those who pricked up their ears and waited for Lin Yuan's answer feel quite disappointed, Lin, and King, Lin, and Lin Yuan wasn't a fool. If he auctioned Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearls of such quality again, he wouldn't be able to do so. In that case, some of the group members who wanted to auction the elemental pearls would hold back when bidding, and would wait for the next auction to see if they could auction it at a lower price. Lin Yuan. Yun. Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan understood the principle that things were precious when they were rare. Even if the 9 purity Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearls could help Lin Yuan collect a large number of resources, he would not always conduct such group welfare auctions in the group. However, Lin Yuan didn't say anything definite. He only said that the next group welfare auction would be 30 flower brocade pearls. As for what the group members who were auctioning the group welfare thought, the benevolent see benevolence, and the wise see wisdom. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's answer, Wang Fuxiang looked at the Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearls on the plate that Listen was holding. If I can take out more resources to auction, then, I wonder if I can calculate the final price of the elemental pearls and auction off 12 more Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearls? When Lin Yuan heard Wang Fuxiang's question, he decisively shook his head and replied calmly. No. Lin Yuan was extremely willing to let Wang Fuxiang bid for the 2 sets of Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearls at the auction price. He felt that the current offer had reached his bottom line. However, looking at the smell of gunpowder and the restless big shots, Lin Yuan knew that even if the elemental pearls did not reach a sky-high price, he would still be able to earn a lot. At this price, Lin Yuan knew that even if the elemental pearls did not reach a sky-high price, If Wang Fuxiang could bid for 2 sets of elemental pearls at this price, it would be double the joy. For Wang Fuxiang to ask such a question, it meant that she had the purchasing power. Lin Yuan could not help but sigh at Wang Fuxiang's confidence and financial resources. As expected of a woman who had killed hundreds of men and controlled hundreds of men's legacies. However, the rules of the group welfare auction had been set by Lin Yuan when he first decided to conduct the group welfare auction. Lin Yuan was the owner of the purchase with no loss store and the owner of Sky City. He was also the owner of Sky City. Chapter 557. After making up her mind, Master Duanli looked like she was about to cut her own flesh. In less than a moment, his expression of enduring the pain and cutting his own flesh turned into one of confidence. But Master Duanli was no longer in a hurry to bid. Instead, he sat there calmly, waiting for the final moment to launch an instant kill. Li Xiaoyao did not see the confident expression on his master's face. He felt that his cheap master had shriveled up in front of this woman called Wang Fuxiang. In terms of wealth, Wang Fuxiang had completely crushed him. Li Xiaoyao knew that his uncle, Duan He, was also here to participate in the auction, but his uncle had yet to make a bid. Li Xiaoyao wanted to sneak a peek at his uncle, but he recalled his uncle's ferocious gaze. Li Xiaoyao quickly turned around and continued to look at Wang Fuxiang. Compared to his uncle's ferocious gaze, Wang Fuxiang was much more attractive. Even if Wang Fuxiang was an old granny over 100 years old, her alluring appearance was definitely more pleasing to the eyes than her uncle. Wang Fuxiang had already made another bid, crushing several people who had outbid her. After taking out the elemental source-type item, the paper elemental, Wang Fuxiang did not take out anything more rare. But whenever someone outbid her, Wang Fuxiang would add a source-type item that outbid the other party's bid. Among all the bidders, Wang Fuxiang's bid was the simplest and clearest. Li Xiaoyao couldn't help but think, give me a hug from a rich woman, when she only used source-type items, which could be called foundational resources, to bid. But when he thought of Wang Fuxiang's age and her dead husbands, boyfriends, girlfriends, and lovers, Li Xiaoyao felt that it was better for him to hug his cheap master. Li Xiaoyao felt that it was better for him to hug his cheap master who had failed in the bidding. Lin Yuan's face behind the mask was expressionless, but in fact, his brain was working furiously. He was racking his brains to think of a way to auction off more elemental pearls without breaking the rules he had set. At the same time, he would get all the resources he coveted. He had already thought of a way, but it required a prerequisite that was very difficult to achieve. Now, he could only wait and see if these bidding group members could create the prerequisites he needed. Duan He's brows furrowed even tighter. During the auction, Duan He's mind was no longer on Lin Yuan. Instead, he paid more attention to the woman named Wang Fuxiang. Duan He did not expect to see someone like Wang Fuxiang in the fan club. In Duan He's heart, this woman was an unfathomable mystery. In terms of wealth, even when Duan He had the most resources, he did not have the confidence to compete with Wang Fuxiang. Wang Fuxiang had cursed a total of 158 husbands, boyfriends, male friends, and lovers to death. None of these 158 people were ordinary people. Half of the people killed by Wang Fuxiang were creation masters. Most of them were Class 3 creation masters, but there were only 3 Class 4 creation masters. However, among these 3 Class 4 creation masters, one of them was a pinnacle Class 4 creation master. Moreover, Wang Fuxiang's last husband was a pinnacle Emperor class expert with a suzerain/myth 3 Fei. 30 years ago, when Duan He's strength had just reached king class, he had joined the spirit guards. Back then, Duan He's first mission was to investigate Wang Fuxiang under the leadership of a guard envoy. However, after a thorough investigation, he found out that all the men related to Wang Fuxiang had died in accidents. Among them, the pinnacle Emperor class expert had met with an accident when he was with his team. It was precisely because all the evidence pointed to an accident that the spirit guards, who were investigating this unusual incident, could only hastily write down the conclusion that Wang Fuxiang's life was too tenacious in their investigation. From the start, Duan He was certain that Wang Fuxiang was not as simple as she seemed. After staying in the spirit guards for less than a year, Duan He withdrew from the spirit guards. It was also during this year that Wang Fuxiang used all the inheritance that she had to establish an organization that specialized in the appraisal of precious luxury goods. Langya Pavilion. In the beginning, the Langya Pavilion only appraised luxury goods made from rare spiritual ingredients and rated the same type of luxury goods. But slowly, after some expensive luxury goods were appraised by the Langya Pavilion and received a high star rating, their prices would continue to increase. The Langya Pavilion had been in business for 30 years. Now that Jewel Grace Pavilion had appraised and rated luxury goods, it could give a luxury item a higher value and definition. And the person who single-handedly created all of this was this woman named Wang Fuxiang. Even now, Duan He could not imagine how much wealth Wang Fuxiang possessed. However, there was probably no one else here who knew Wang Fuxiang's identity as Pavilion Master Langya. Duan He knew that if he hadn't coincidentally participated in Wang Fuxiang's investigation, he wouldn't have such a clear understanding of her. However, understanding was one thing. Now was the time for bidding, and Duan He would not be careless. Duan He stood up and said in a deep voice, "I offer 27 source-type items and a drop of suzerain/myth I dry swamp toad's blood essence." Duan He's sudden bid made Lin Yuan narrow his eyes. At the same time, the other bidders gasped. No matter how rare Wang Fuxiang's elemental source-type item, the paper elemental, was, in essence, just a source-type item. However, the essence blood of a suzerain/myth I Fei was at a level that only Emperor-class experts could come into contact with. The dry swamp toad was a poison-type Fei, so its essence blood was rather unorthodox compared to the essence blood of other suzerain/myth Feis. When the essence blood of other suzerain/myth I Feis was blended into spirit fluids, it could nurture other Feis of the same type. However, the essence blood of poison-type Feis was an exception. Using the essence blood of a poison-type Fei to nurture a poison-type Fei might cause the poison-type Fei to be poisoned to death. However, the suzerain/myth I dry swamp toad's essence blood was enough to suppress Wang Fuxiang's paper elemental. Upon seeing that Duan He had also joined the bidding, Lin Yuan was delighted, even though he had plans to take Duan He under his command. Although he had the intention of taking Duan He under his command, it was still unknown whether Duan He's character could meet his requirements and whether his conditions could move Duan He. Therefore, he still had to earn Duan He's money. First, end of this chapter. Chapter 558. If it was Duan He who won the bid for these 12 heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls in the end, even if Lin Yuan recruited Duan He later, the 12 heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls would still be Duan He's personal belongings. Duan He was undoubtedly a strong competitor for Wang Fuxiang. Only when the price of the group welfare auction really reached a price would it be considered to have met the prerequisites that Lin Yuan had requested. When Wang Fuxiang heard that the price she had offered was lowered once again, she was startled. For some reason, Wang Fuxiang shot a glance at Duan He, who was fuming with anger. "What use do you stinky men have for these female elemental pearls from the dreamy cloud lake? Such a magnificent thing should be worn on my neck. It complements my snow-white neck." Duan He subconsciously glanced at Wang Fuxiang's neck when he heard her words. Duan He couldn't help but feel that Wang Fuxiang's words were true. Duan He could not help but feel a chill run down his spine when he thought of this. Duan He hurriedly moved his gaze away and spoke in a low voice. 9 purity heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls are used to nurture Feis. The extremely pure elemental energy is the best spirit herb to transform a pure-type Feis bloodline. After hearing Duan He's words, Wang Fuxiang slapped the back of the chair in front of her and said softly, "I offer 30 source-type items, which include the elemental source-type item, paper elemental, that I previously bid for. You are actually planning to use the pearl to nurture Feis for the Cloud Dream Lake's heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls? What a waste. Hee, if a person like you doesn't live a poor life, who would?" Duan He's expression immediately darkened. Without hesitation, he raised his bid to suppress Wang Fuxiang's. At that moment, Listen, who was standing beside Lin Yuan, looked at the time and said in a clear voice. There are still 2 minutes before the auction ends. If you want to bid, hurry up. As soon as Listen's voice fell, another big shot in the group got up to participate in the bidding. However, as soon as the price was announced, it was immediately suppressed by Duanhe's bid. The big shot whose bid was suppressed sat on the chair with a regretful look on his face and crossed his legs. Obviously, he had completely given up on the idea of continuing to bid and had turned into a spectator. At this moment, Master Duanli, who had been sitting silently in her chair, stood up. My original offer remains unchanged. I'll add another 250 caddies of platinum 1000 opportunity bismuth crystals and an earth fey sun reflection king lotus. Wang Fuxiang and Duanhe's faces darkened at Master Duanli's words. Wang Fuxiang cursed silently. This old thing is a creation master, yet he is willing to use the earth fey reflection king lotus to make a bid. What a lunatic. Lin Yuan had already given up on his original plan. He was thinking of using other methods to obtain the rare spiritual ingredients he needed from Master Duanli. However, Master Duanli was still as determined as ever. She joined the battle against Duanhe and Wang Fuxiang. Master Duanli's offer fulfilled half of Lin Yuan's initial expectations. However, whether or not Lin Yuan's plan could be carried out depended on Duanhe and Wang Fuxiang. If Duanhe and Wang Fuxiang refused, Lin Yuan would still be able to obtain everything Master Duanli offered. It even included an earth spirit, the sun reflection king lotus. It was simply too profitable. Lin Yuan had previously wanted to expand the man-made lake in the return from faraway manor and build a water garden on it. The most difficult part of this idea was how to make the water garden float on the lake. As a Class 5 spirit craftsman, Hu Quan's design would definitely not be simple. Just the foundation of the water garden would be a huge project. If Lin Yuan could obtain the earth fey sun reflection king lotus and plant it in the center of his man-made lake, then, after the reflection sun monarch lotus matured, it would have a mountain-like volume and 32 lotus leaves. The surface area of each lotus leaf would be enough to build a unique pavilion on top of it. As long as the sun reflection king lotus grew, it would be equivalent to growing the skeleton of a water garden on top of the man-made lake. All of Hu Quan's designs and constructions could be built on the sun reflection king lotus leaves. Furthermore, as an earth fey, the reflection sun king lotus main ability was to absorb enough sunlight with its white lotus leaves. The lotus root that seals the sunlight in itself grows at the bottom of the water and spreads out like ivory. In the evening, after the sun had set, the lotus roots under the water of the Sunshine King Lotus would release the stored sunlight. It was as if it was night above the surface of the water, but it was daytime under the water, giving off a warm glow. It made the surface of the water look like a dazzling daytime for 24 hours. Even though the Reflection Sun King Lotus wasn't considered a powerful earth fey among the plant-type earth feys, the Reflection Sun King Lotus was not considered a powerful earth fey. However, the Reflection Sun King Lotus function was equivalent to giving the plant phase in the water garden double the light. Sunlight could allow these flowers, which required a lot of sunlight, to bloom even more luxuriantly than usual. With the Reflection Sun King Lotus, the artificial lake in the Return from Faraway Manor would definitely be made into a fairyland with the contributions of Hu Quan, a Class 5 spirit craftsman, and Jiao Han Song, a variety of rare flowers. In addition, the man-made lake only had the immortal fish that Lin Yuan intended to rear. Perhaps when night fell, the water would automatically ripple with the colorful aurora under the warm afternoon sun. Chapter 559. Before Wang Fuxiang could finish her sentence, she heard a clear voice. Your bid is too high. Don't raise it anymore. Wang Fuxiang had wanted to raise the price, but she was suddenly interrupted. Her frown deepened even further. However, when she realized that the person who interrupted her was the group moderator, Lin Yuan, she raised her brows in surprise. Wang Fuxiang did not expect the group moderator's voice to sound so young. It also had an indescribable magnetism to it. All in all, Wang Fuxiang felt very comfortable when she heard his voice. When Lin Yuan stopped the auction, everyone, including Duan He and Master Duan Li, turned to look at him. Lin Yuan felt everyone's gaze. He grabbed a handful of elemental pearls from Listen's tray and said, "The purpose of the group welfare is to provide benefits to everyone. The purpose of group welfare is to give benefits to everyone. The price you bid for these heavenly maiden level elemental pearls is too high. It goes against the original purpose of group welfare." Lin Yuan's words could be said to be righteous to the extreme. At that moment, it was as though Lin Yuan was possessed by justice, and his righteous voice made everyone freeze in place. Even though this was a group welfare auction, it was no different from an ordinary auction in the eyes of everyone. This was because Lin Yuan was willing to auction the 9 Purity Cloud Dream Lake Heavenly Maiden Grade Elemental Pearls in the group. This was already considered a group welfare. Moreover, the person who won the bid could choose any of the 48 pearls. As for the final bid, it was up to each person's ability to win the item. When Lin Yuan suddenly stopped the auction because of the high bid, everyone felt a trace of warmth in their hearts. The atmosphere in the Purchase with No Loss Stores fan club was especially good. However, as the group moderator, Lin Yuan was always lurking. Now that he had stopped the bidding, the group members could feel the hidden gentleness of the group moderator who loved to lurk and grumble. Wang Fuxiang could also feel the kindness of this strange-masked young man in front of her. However, Wang Fuxiang had to win these 12 heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls no matter what. This was because Wang Fuxiang had already made up her mind when she raised the bid. "Group moderator, you may have stopped the bidding, but this will be my last bid. Why don't you give this Dreamy Cloud Lake's female elemental pearl to me?" Duan He and Master Duan Li had a mental battle the moment Lin Yuan stopped them. Duan He was really out of ammunition now. If he wanted to increase his chips again, he could only bet the spiritual materials he had prepared for his main Fei to break through to Myth 2. Reason told Duan He that he couldn't continue like this. Therefore, after calming down for a moment, Duan He decisively gave up bidding. However, Master Duan Li still had some foundation. As a Class 4 creation master, Master Duan Li had a similar tendency to stash away like a rat. Master Duan Li had been working hard to earn money, but she rarely spent it. As a result, Master Duan Li had a lot of resources at her disposal. Master Duan Li clenched her fists as she looked at the heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls on the plate. Wasn't it just a few more source-type items? I will go back and risk my old bones to nurture a few more Feis to earn back the money. After making her decision, Master Duan Li stepped forward and said to Wang Fuxiang, "After you're done, I'll do it again. It's not like you're the only one who can bid. I must get these elemental pearls." Wang Fuxiang laughed at Master Duan Li's words and was about to say something. At that moment, Wang Fuxiang heard Lin Yuan speak again. "If you guys continue to fight, I won't know how to bid for the next group welfare auction. How about this? Both of you take a step back." Wang Fuxiang hurriedly said, "I can't take a step back. I can't take a step back in this kind of situation." Master Duan Li also hurriedly expressed her opinion. "I'm not afraid of a high bid. Someone else will be the one to step back." Lin Yuan fell silent, giving others the impression that he was in a difficult position. However, Lin Yuan had already given Wang Fuxiang and Master Duan Li dozens of praises in his heart. Lin Yuan glanced at Duan He. He knew that Duan He's silence meant that Duan He had decided to withdraw from the auction. There was nothing in Duan He's bid that Lin Yuan coveted. Lin Yuan had no intention of taking a drop of the suzerain/myth I poison-type dry swamp toad's essence blood. After all, Lin Yuan still had a lot of suzerain/myth 2 essence blood from the mother of bloodbath and the suzerain/myth 2 dry swamp toad. Even though he knew that Duan He had no intention of continuing, Lin Yuan still looked at Duan He and asked, "Do you still want to bid for these elemental pearls? Do you still want to bid for these elemental pearls?" Duan He had already weighed his current situation over and over again, and felt that he had gotten a little carried away just now. If he really bought these 12 heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls, what would happen to the Fei's evolution? Even if he could sell these Cloud Dream Lake Heavenly Maiden Grade pearls, he had never sold them before. He was not sure if he could sell the 9 Purity Cloud Dream Lake Heavenly Maiden Grade Elemental Pearls at this auction price. Duan he understood from Lin Yuan's action of stopping the auction because the bid was too high. There were probably not many women like Wang Fuxiang who were crazy about pearls and were also rich. Duan he said straightforwardly. Since both of them are willing to give in, I'll withdraw. This will save the group owner some trouble. Lin Yuan thought to himself. Duan He's withdrawal was rather cool. Since Duan He had already made it clear that he was withdrawing, Lin Yuan did not need to spend any more effort on him in this group welfare auction. Lin Yuan sighed as though he was in a difficult position. He then looked at Wang Fuxiang and Master Duanli. Since both of you want it and won't give in, then I'll take a loss. Just treat it as 2 sets of Heavenly Maiden Grade Elemental Pearls. With that, Lin Yuan gestured for Listen to bring over another tray. Everyone was stunned by Lin Yuan's action. This was a good way to prevent the elemental pearls' prices from rising. However, no one understood what Lin Yuan meant by, I'll take a loss. It seemed that no matter how the group owner auctioned it, he would not be at a loss, right? At that moment, Listen was already holding another tray in his hand. Lin Yuan waved his hand, and another 48 Heavenly Maiden Grade Elemental Pearls of each of the 4 elements were scattered on Panjang. However, there were 2 elemental pearls on this tray that were obviously different from the Cloud Dream Lake pearls. These 2 elemental pearls directly suppressed the other elemental pearls on the tray. Lin Yuan picked up one of them and placed it on the other tray. As a result, the entire tray of Cloud Dream Lake pearls was suppressed by the elemental pearls on this one elemental pearl. Baidu, read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Book House for free. Wang Fuxiang didn't expect Lin Yuan to suddenly ask her about the attribute requirements for the Heavenly Maiden Grade Elemental Pearl. Wang Fuxiang's eyes lit up, and she replied happily. 20 years ago, I obtained a Wind Elemental Pearl. If Group Leader Sir can help me match the pearl with a female Elemental Pearl, I'm willing to have more private conversations with Group Leader Sir. As she spoke, Wang Fuxiang's ink-like hair fell onto her shoulders. It made Wang Fuxiang look exceptionally charming. Wang Fuxiang lifted her eyes to look at Lin Yuan. When she looked at him, she even shifted her footsteps. She moved half a step closer to Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan could feel Wang Fuxiang's words and movements, and he almost choked on his own saliva. Immediately, alarm bells went off in Lin Yuan's mind. What's wrong with this woman? If someone else seduced him, they would at most covet his wealth. But if he was seduced by this woman, he would literally lose his life. How terrifying! Lin Yuan coughed lightly and took out a Wind-type Heavenly Maiden Grade Elemental Pearl without a change in expression. He then placed it on the tray in front of Wang Fuxiang. Baidu, read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Book House for free. Chapter 561. Lin Yuan tossed the fixed life Earth Elemental Pearl from Wang Fuxiang's tray to Master Duanli. He also kept the fixed life Earth Elemental Pearl from Master Duanli's tray. Wang Fuxiang stood rooted to the ground and blinked. She did not expect her flirtatious seduction to be ignored. Wang Fuxiang chuckled and said, Group Admin, you helped me find a pair. Group Leader, you've matched a pair for me. In order to thank you, I have to express my gratitude. If Group Admin has any rare items that you are unsure of, you can look for me on the star web. Wang Fuxiang then lowered her head and carefully selected the elemental pearls on the tray. Lin Yuan's face was filled with black lines. What the hell is going on? Don't spout nonsense. What do you mean by, help me find a pair? Wouldn't I be murdering someone else? Duan he had something to talk to Lin Yuan about, so he did not leave immediately after the auction ended. Naturally, he heard the conversation between Wang Fuxiang and Lin Yuan. Duan he thought to himself. If the Moon Empress finds out that Wang Fuxiang seduced her precious disciple, I wonder if the bright moon in the sky will suddenly shine and be dyed red. Being in love with Wang Fuxiang was far more dangerous than being in the Jing family. While Wang Fuxiang and Master Duanli were selecting the elemental pearls, Lin Yuan realized that the number of water elemental pearls on the tray did not decrease at all. Lin Yuan could not figure out what was going on. The water elemental pearls had always been in high demand among the other elemental pearls. Why were they so unpopular now? Wang Fuxiang and Master Duanli left contentedly after selecting the elemental pearls. Lin Yuan realized that other than Listen, who was helping him collect the stools for the group welfare, there were two other people who were still in his store. One of them was Duanhe. The other was Stream in the Cloud, the braised egghead, the first customer of Lin Yuan's Star Web store. Lin Yuan remembered that Stream in the Cloud was very excited when the group welfare was first auctioned. However, after the group welfare ended, she looked very disappointed. Like a little flower that was ravaged in a storm, it was listless and listless. Upon seeing this, Lin Yuan walked up and asked Stream in the Cloud. What happened? Your mouth can at least be tied to a donkey's head. Lin Yuan looked at the braised egghead and realized that she was still wearing the little headgear, just like the first time he had seen her. However, after half a year, the originally bald head of the braised egghead had grown hair that reached her cheeks. From the looks of it, the braised egghead with hair was quite tranquil when it was quiet. When she heard Lin Yuan say that she was the best at tying a donkey, she immediately rolled her eyes. He said in a bad mood. Did the donkey run out from the deep forest? As soon as the words left her mouth, braised egghead realized that her words sounded a bit awkward. The braised egghead had originally come for the fire attribute Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearls. If it had been an ordinary Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearl, she might have been able to make a bid. However, the Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearls that Lin Yuan had taken out for auction had a purity of 9 and contained the presence of pearls. This made it so that the resources brought by the braised egghead weren't enough to bid on. She had come excitedly, but she could only become a spectator. Lin Yuan looked at the braised egghead suspiciously and felt that she seemed to be driving in the dark. However, Lin Yuan had no evidence. At that moment, Duanhe walked to Lin Yuan's side and coughed lightly. Group admin, can I trade 10-9? 8 purity wind attribute Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearls from you? I'm willing to pay the price of 2 source type items for each. Lin Yuan raised his brows when he heard how Duanhe addressed him. When an Emperor-class expert like Duanhe addressed him as Sir, Lin Yuan was even more convinced that Duanhe knew his identity. Lin Yuan turned to look at Duanhe. Just as Duanhe was getting goosebumps from Lin Yuan's gaze, Lin Yuan said, "The price is reasonable." The price is reasonable. No problem. It's just that it's almost the new year. You can trade with me after that. Lin Yuan didn't reject Duanhe's request. 2 source type items for 1-9. 8 purity Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearl was already at least 30% higher than the market price. A 9. 8 purity Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearl was just a spiritual ingredient. It was completely different from a luxury item like a 9 purity Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearl. Duanhe's price made Lin Yuan have no reason not to trade. The production of elemental pearls in the Spirit Lock spatial zone was not low, and this trade could build a communication bridge with Duanhe. After Lin Yuan investigated Duanhe's character, he could use this bridge to make a move on Duanhe. Upon hearing that, Duanhe thanked him and left the Star Web store in a hurry to find his nephew, Li Xiaoyao. When Yunxi heard Lin Yuan and Duanhe's conversation, her eyes lit up. Lin Yuan, I also want to buy 3 fire attribute Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearls from you. As the braised egghead spoke, Lin Yuan suddenly noticed a flash of joy in her eyes. Lin Yuan immediately knew that she was disappointed because she didn't get the Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearls. Lin Yuan naturally had no reason to reject the braised egghead's purchase request. Not only was she Lin Yuan's first Star Web customer, but the custom-made web-spraying spiders had also allowed him to earn more than 1 radiance dollar. It was also because of this that Lin Yuan had earned her first bucket of gold. This allowed Lin Yuan to have more capital to use the Spirit Lock spatial zone for rapid development. At the same time, the Purchase with No Loss Stores fan club had been established by the Braised Egghead after she completed the trade with him and saw that he didn't have a fan club yet. In fact, Lin Yuan had truly witnessed a battle between White Devil and Unknown Flame, who were the top youths. Lin Yuan had set his first goal after becoming a Spirit Chi professional. The Braised Egghead was also a witness beside him. Lin Yuan realized that the Braised Egghead was really everywhere. With just a few words, Lin Yuan finalized the trade with her. The Braised Egghead smiled brightly and said, "Lin Yuan, is this considered as me getting special treatment?" "Lin Yuan, does this count as me getting special treatment?" Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan only had one thought, and that was that high-class creation masters were simply too awesome. To a certain extent, the saying that something was precious when it was rare was the truth of price. He had only given the Braised Egghead the lowest market price and hadn't earned any money from her. However, the Braised Egghead felt that she had gained a huge advantage. Upon seeing the Braised Egghead's silly smile, Lin Yuan blurted out without thinking, "What kind of preferential treatment made you so fat?" It was almost the new year, and it was inevitable that the Braised Egghead had gained a few kilograms. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, the bright smile on her face turned into an indignant expression. She couldn't help but stomp her feet in anger. All of a sudden, the Braised Egghead felt that Lin Yuan seemed to be as annoying as that fellow who had taught her to cheat in the forum, causing her to be the last in class. She should really let Lin Yuan be bitten by the ghost shadow bristled spider. Then, she would let Lin Yuan drink more hot water with the radix isatitis and clean his wounds. Then, she would find a cool and ventilated place to lie down under the shade of a tree to prevent the corpse from smelling. If she could afford it, it would be best to lay a cold mat under him. The first one was even better. End of this chapter. Chapter 562. The Braised Egghead snorted. "Deep in the mountains, the big spider will go to your house to find you." After saying that, she skipped out of the Star Web store. Lin Yuan touched the back of his head and wondered if the Braised Egghead had become stupid because of her long hair. Why was her brain so strange? Lin Yuan watched as the Braised Egghead skipped to the door. Just as he was about to remind her, he realized that his reminder was too late. When the Braised Egghead crossed the threshold, she fell on her butt, and the little bee hat on her head fell to the ground. This scene was just like the first time. Deep into the night, Lin Yuan, who had logged off the Star Web, entered his Spirit Lock spatial zone. He replaced the batch of completely jade-textured wood that had matured while he was unconscious in the Spirit Lock spatial zone. Just as Lin Yuan was preparing to nurture those flower brocade pearls that had completed their mutation under the high concentration of Spirit Chi, he found that one of them had actually turned completely golden. Among these flower brocade pearls that he had nurtured, a green flower brocade pearl with a hint of pink had actually mutated into a golden color. Lin Yuan used Morbius True Data to check and found that this Fei was no longer called the flower brocade pearl. It was called the golden lotus brocade. Fei name, golden lotus brocade. Fei species, Crassulaceae/windmill grass. Fei grade, bronze, 1/10. Fei type, wood. Fei quality, elite abilities. Frowny face pellet juice, increases the juice content in the original plant's leaves and concentrates the juice into colloid when there is sufficient nutrition. Leaf wrap, when the leaves mature, a layer of woody colloid will form on the surface of the leaves and completely preserve the energy in the mature leaves. Exclusive skill. Frowny face active plant, after training, the plant part will grow into a new plant with sufficient nutrition. When the nutrients are exhausted, the new plant part will provide all the nutrients in the body to the mother plant. However, if the new plant produces a new active plant, it will break away from the mother plant's control and grow into an independent plant. Upon seeing the golden lotus brocade's true data, Lin Yuan immediately knew that the flower brocade pearls had undergone an unknown mutation when they evolved into flower brocade pearls under the high concentration of Spirit Chi. When Lin Yuan checked the golden lotus brocade's exclusive skill, active plant, he suddenly had a flash of inspiration. Suddenly, he thought of a possibility. With this golden lotus brocade bead, would he be able to cultivate golden lotus brocade beads on a large scale like the Blissful Sea clan? Based on the golden lotus brocade's skills alone, it was clear that the golden lotus brocade was much more effective than the flower brocade pearls. The rich juice skill allowed the juice content of each leaf of the golden lotus stalk to far exceed that of the flower brocade pearls. Moreover, the wrapping leaves skill also resolved the problem of the flower brocade pearls leaves automatically turning black if not used for a period of time after they matured. Lin Yuan was sure that the appearance of the golden lotus brocade stalk would drive creation masters crazy. It was just that the golden lotus brocade truss's effect was much stronger than the flower brocade pearls. A real creation master would only be able to find out after experimenting. He held the dazzling golden lotus brocade pearl in his hand. Lin Yuan felt that a huge wave of wealth was crashing toward him. In Lin Yuan's opinion, apart from its function, this golden lotus brocade beads could also be regarded as a symbolic commodity. With this golden lotus brocade pearl, he would be able to use the spirit lock spatial zone more effectively in the future. He would no longer need to occupy space in the spirit lock spatial zone to nurture the flower brocade pearls. After tidying up the spirit lock spatial zone, Lin Yuan took a look at his leaf-shaped diamond face storage box. Lin Yuan realized that the blood brew grapevine was completely different from before he had fainted. The old leaves on the blood brew grapevine had all fallen off. The newly grown leaves grew wildly, and many of the vines were already hanging down to the ground due to their small frame. Upon seeing the situation, Lin Yuan quickly took out some sturdy old pine wood and nailed a giant frame for the blood brew grapevine. Afterward, he took out an even bigger jade basin and filled it with revival soil that had been watered with grasswood spring water. Lin Yuan then fixed the frame in the giant bathtub and carefully transplanted the blood brew grapevine. The blood brew grapevine was truly greedy. After absorbing so many eyes of relinquish, it did not choose to condense the blood brew grapes first. Instead, it chose to release its growth ability that had been suppressed. Previously, the owner of the blood brew grapevine had been afraid of wasting more blood essence, so he had only left one main vine for the blood brew grapevine to produce blood brew grapes. As soon as the other grapevines grew, they would all be cut off. Now, the blood brew grapevine in front of Lin Yuan was growing wildly under the nurturing of the eye of relinquish. This exuberant and flourishing appearance should be the blood brew grapevine's original appearance. Lin Yuan shrugged indifferently at the blood brew grapevine's greed. In any case, no matter how greedy the blood brew grapevine was, it was still a tool to provide blood brew grapes to the mother of bloodbath. As long as Red Thorn's eye of relinquish was present, Lin Yuan could nurture the blood brew grapevine effortlessly. Once the blood brew grapevine grew to its original appearance, Lin Yuan would be able to continuously harvest more. It would not be like when the blood brew grapevine only had one main vine and had to enter a slow recovery period after cutting off the blood brew grapes. Transplanting the blood brew grapevine was a huge project. Lin Yuan had to be 120% vigilant in order to prevent damaging the blood brew grapevine's tender roots in the soil. After doing all this, Lin Yuan hugged genius and had a good sleep. In the Radiant Moon Palace's inner palace, Cold Moon and Mystic Moon stood beside the Moon Empress. The Moon Empress' hand was gently breaking off a pod of diamond fragrant peony. With every slight movement of the Moon Empress' fingers, the peony with the size of a human head would be broken off by the Moon Empress. The Moon Empress took a look at the pond water that was splashed up by the fishes in the pond and casually inserted the broken fragrant peony into the pond. The Tower Cannon's 8th page, the Bloodshed Land's 7th page of war, and the Ash team under the 7th page of war are actually secretly operating in Radiance. It seems like the 7th page of war didn't learn its lesson 10 years ago. While speaking, the Moon Empress looked at the little rabbit that was using its long ears to wipe the carrot in its hand. She said softly, "Zishi, summon your main body back from the outer realm." Mystic Moon and Cold Moon, who were behind the Moon Empress, looked at each other and saw a trace of solemnity and joy in each other's eyes. It seemed like the young lord was in danger this time. The Moon Empress, who had been hiding her sharpness for 10 years, was now truly serious. Second page. seeking monthly votes and recommendation votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 563. Under the deep and serene night sky, ice-cold waves were crashing against a long decayed wooden board on the surface of the sea. Faint roars of sea beasts could be heard. Even at night, one could faintly see the silhouette of a huge sea beast in the deep sea under the wooden board through the starlight. A 10-centimeter-long silver fish swayed its tail in front of the wooden board. A thread wrapped around its tail carried the wooden board forward in the waves. The aura released by the silver fish made the dormant sea beasts in the deep sea feel a faint sense of fear. However, the silver fish had cracks like porcelain on its body, as if it could shatter at any time. Although the silver fish could release a terrifying aura, its life force was obviously abnormally weak. An old man on the wooden board with half of his body missing looked at the pale, sweaty, short-haired woman on his side and sighed. The old man's sigh was filled with worry, sorrow, and a hint of indiscernible despair. The short-haired woman hugged her head with both hands and curled up. Her body trembled as if she was having a spasm. After a long time, the short-haired woman recovered. The recovered short-haired woman was like a fallen leaf in the cold wind. She was unusually weak. The old man used his remaining half of his body to pick up a dead fish on the wooden board and handed it to the short-haired woman. "Iran, your sacred source life form has entered a near-death state. You will suffer the pain of this soul injury until the absolute love poppy's damaged source recovers." The short-haired woman clenched her fists tightly. The short-haired woman was already aware of this kind of injury. She used a marrow contract to let the sacred source life form fuse with her soul. This meant that the sacred source life form itself was a part of her soul. Her contracted sacred source life form, the absolute love poppy, only had half a stem and a handful of root hairs left. How could it be easy to recover? The short-haired woman said in a low voice. "Unfortunately, all of my fays are linked to the sacred source life form, the absolute love poppy. Now that the absolute love poppy's source is damaged and in a near-death state, my other fays are also in a deep sleep." The short-haired woman suddenly gritted her teeth. "I just didn't expect 7th Page War to not be a human." Otherwise, before she could finish speaking, the short-haired woman covered her head again and trembled violently. It was obvious that he was suffering from the pain caused by his soul injury. The old man looked at the short-haired woman, whose soul had been injured, but his eyes were still filled with hatred. He propped himself up and used the other half of his hand to fiercely hit the short-haired woman's head as he shouted. "Iran, you are the Dark Envoy jointly chosen by the 7 Dark States. You are the only Lord Dark Envoy left in the 7 Dark States. What Lord Gloom Envoy can do is not only take revenge, but also stay alive." After a while, the short-haired woman who received the slap stopped trembling, but she did not raise her head. Hot tears flowed out of the short-haired woman's eyes, and the tears dripped onto her spiritual aura clothes that had already been soaked in seawater between her legs. The salty tears melted into the salter seawater in the blink of an eye. Su Iran blamed herself. If she had not relied on her contracted sacred source life form, the absolute love poppy, she would not have been able to survive. If he had ordered Elder He to sneak attack 7th Page War with him as a Dark Envoy, Elder He would not have ended up in such a miserable state. Elder He was an Emperor-class expert and possessed a creation breed Fae. Even if half of Old He's body was destroyed, as long as he received treatment, he could completely recover. However, Elder He's creation breed Fae, the Netherworld River Mother, had been killed by the 7th Page War. Elder He's sacred source life form, the Shuttle Arrow Shark, was also injured by the 7th Page War's sacred source life form, the Brilliant War Chariot, and its body was shattered. Along the way, Elder He paid the price of burning his own soul to allow the Shuttle Arrow Shark to carry the two of them through the deep sea that was filled with powerful sea beasts. Su Iran knew that this old man who had always been by her side was burning his own life force to accompany her on her final journey. This kind of destined parting was as painful as a blunt knife cutting through flesh. After hitting Su Iran, Old He regretted it. However, Old He felt that he still had to say what needed to be said. After letting out a sigh, Old He took a deep breath and said in a deep voice. Iran, look up at me. Su Iran slowly raised her head and saw Elder He's pitiful state. Zo Iran bit her lips tightly, and fresh blood flowed from her lips, dripping onto the wooden plank. Elder He was about to speak, but at that moment, the sea waves suddenly became bigger. The shuttle arrow shark, which was pulling the wooden plank to lead the way, immediately slowed down. It was clearly in the sea, but it was as if it was in a quagmire, unable to move an inch. Damn it, the dying shuttle arrow shark has finally been targeted by a wild creation breed fae in the deep sea. While speaking, Elder He's body spewed out a huge amount of spirit chi, and the power of an Emperor-class expert caused the turbulent sea to pause. It was as if all the living beings in the four seas had fled 1,000 meters into the deep sea. The moment Elder He's Emperor-class expert's power erupted, the shuttle arrow shark's body, which had already been shattered, immediately flickered with a kind of silver spatial energy. The spatial energy on the shuttle arrow shark's body directly formed dense spatial patterns on its body. Chapter 564. Lin Yuan had already woken up early and was dressed neatly. It was almost the new year, and it was rare for Lin Yuan to wear spirit chi clothes with plenty of red accessories. Lin Yuan would occasionally wear brightly colored clothes. It made Lin Yuan look much younger than before. Genius was originally a little lazy in Lin Yuan's embrace, but after Lin Yuan put on the red vest that Wen Yu had specially made for Genius, Genius immediately became spirited. It wagged its three little tails and asked Lin Yuan in a childish voice, Lin Yuan, does Genius look good in clothes? When Lin Yuan heard Genius' question, he stretched out his hand and lovingly pinched Genius' little nose. Little fellow, you have asked this question 10 times in just a short while. You little brat, you've asked the same question 10 times already. This vest that was suitable for Genius was something that Wen Yu had made by chance. Since Wen Yu had never seen Genius wearing clothes, she had given the red vest to Lin Yuan. Since Wen Yu had never seen Genius wearing clothes, she had given the red vest to Lin Yuan. This morning, Lin Yuan had given it to Genius on a whim and realized how much Genius liked these clothes that could be worn. When Genius heard Lin Yuan's praise, it felt as though it had eaten honey. Even though it had already heard Lin Yuan's answer over 10 times, Genius was still happily wagging its little tail. Lin Yuan smiled and asked, why don't you ask Wen Yu to make more clothes for Genius? When Genius heard this, it immediately jumped into Lin Yuan's embrace with joy. Lin Yuan rubbed Genius' little head and couldn't help but lament that Genius was still as sensible as before. However, the current Lin Yuan was already different from the Lin Yuan who had barely survived in the Xia region's Fei store. However, the current Lin Yuan was already different from the Lin Yuan who had barely survived in the Xia region's Fei store. Lin Yuan said to Genius in a serious tone. Lin Yuan said to Genius in a serious tone, Genius, just tell me if you like anything in the future. At that moment, he heard a soft knock on the door of the attic. Lin Yuan opened the door and saw Kai Cha standing at the entrance. Kai Cha bowed and said, Young lord, the Moon Empress is asking for you to have a meal in the inner palace. Young lord, the Moon Empress is asking for you to have a meal in the inner palace. In addition, young Blue Moon Envoy has already been invited by Shi Cha. When Lin Yuan heard the term young Blue Moon Envoy, he still couldn't react. However, he quickly realized that Kai Cha was referring to Chu Ci. Lin Yuan nodded and said, then I will follow Aunt Kai Cha to the rear palace hall. Along the way, he could not help but ponder. Now that he had the golden lotus brocade pearls, the place in the spirit lock spatial zone that used to nurture the flower brocade pearls was empty. How should he use the empty space in the spirit lock spatial zone? Every inch of land in the spirit lock spatial zone was related to his accumulation of resources. Therefore, he really needed to carefully consider the use of the spirit lock spatial zone and could not make a careless decision. When they reached the entrance of the Radiant Moon Palace's inner hall, Kai Cha bowed and said, Young lord, breakfast is prepared by the Moon Empress personally after waking up very early. When Lin Yuan heard Kai Cha's words, he suddenly thought of what he could make for his master during the new year. After the meal, Lin Yuan spoke to the Moon Empress before leaving. "Master, you don't have to prepare meals for the new year. I'll come over to cook in the morning." When the Moon Empress heard the first half of his sentence, she thought that he was going to take something from the leaning moon mountain. The Moon Empress was about to say that the Radiant Moon Palace had everything and that she didn't need to prepare anything. However, before the Moon Empress could speak, she heard the second half of Lin Yuan's sentence. A gentle smile appeared on the Moon Empress' face. The Moon Empress looked at Lin Yuan lovingly and said a single word. "All right." Lin Yuan was quite confident in his culinary skills. Even though it was not as delicious as Lu Jie's, he felt that it was acceptable to eat the dishes he had cooked previously. However, after meeting Lu Jie, he no longer cooked for a few times. On the way back to the mansion, Lin Yuan contacted Ostrich Logistics. He was going to give away the elemental pearls from the group welfare auction and the elemental pearls that he had privately traded. After contacting Ostrich Logistics, Lin Yuan could feel Chu Si's nervousness. Sensing her nervousness, Lin Yuan raised his eyebrows but did not say anything. Because they were about to reach the return from faraway manor not far from the outskirts of the kingdom. The people waiting to see Chu Si in the manor were probably even more nervous than she was. As soon as he arrived at the mansion's entrance, he saw Wen Yu and the purple-haired girl beside her. When Wen Yu saw Lin Yuan, she greeted, "Young master." The purple-red-haired young lady waved her hand at Lin Yuan and shouted, "Mr. Deep Mountain Elder Lin, Neng is back and can continue to be your exclusive courier." Lin Yuan knew that Neng was busy participating in the tournament organized by the Guild Alliance, so he asked, "Neng, how was your result in the tournament?" Neng's eyes immediately lit up when she heard Lin Yuan's words. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Neng's eyes immediately lit up. "I used a hail of bullets to extinguish many people's pain. Neng is just a substitute. I don't have to participate in the rest of the competition this year, but I'll be a main player in next year's tournament." While speaking, Neng waved her fist as if to cheer herself up. When Lin Yuan saw Neng's expression, he cheerfully said, "Good luck." Chapter 565. This season was the most suitable for nurturing angelfish of bliss, which grew extremely fast in a cold environment. After growing into an adult, it would accelerate the speed at which it shed its fish coat in a warm environment. Now that the angelfish of bliss was nurtured to maturity, it would shed a layer of fish coat every once in a while when the weather was slightly warmer. Lin Yuan originally wanted to look for Gao Feng after the new year. He did not want to disturb Gao Feng during the new year and make him think about finding angelfish of bliss for him. Now that Gao Feng was looking for him, Lin Yuan could bring up his request to Gao Feng before the new year. The young angelfish of bliss were not as long as a finger, and they would only be the size of a palm even if they grew into adults. The artificial lake was already very large, and after the expansion, the area would increase by more than 2 times. No matter how many supreme-grade angelfish of bliss Gao Feng found, Lin Yuan could eat them all. When fish fays with colorful bodies like the angelfish of bliss swam together, they were several times more beautiful than when they swam alone. Lin Yuan nodded to indicate that he understood and said to Wen Yu. He said to Wen Yu, "I'll give Gao Feng a call later and ask what he needs." While Lin Yuan was speaking, he heard Lu Jie's voice behind him. "Young master, it's great that you're fine." After experiencing life and death with Lin Yuan in the dimensional rift, Lu Jie had used his body to fulfill the true intent of the shield on his retainer crest to help Lin Yuan block the fatal blow. Lu Jie's consciousness had become blurry. However, the enemies in the dimensional rift had still existed, and Lu Jie was naturally aware of how dangerous it had been. Lu Jie had been relieved when he saw Lin Yuan during the training, but now it seemed that he was especially at ease. Lin Yuan saw that Lu Jie was carrying many rare ingredients. Most of them were ingredients from some marine fish fays. Lu Jie had asked Lin Yuan what Chu Si liked to eat and knew her taste buds. The mansion did not usually eat fish, so Lu Jie had obviously bought so many for Chu Si. Lin Yuan was still a little worried about Lu Jie's insect queen. He asked, "Big brother Lu, you said that your insect queen had a problem with its mutation. How is it now?" Speaking of the insect queen, Lu Jie recalled his encounter from yesterday afternoon to this morning. He felt like he was in a dream. However, in this dreamlike half-day, Lu Jie had undergone a complete transformation. The insect queen has completed its mutation. The current insect queen has become very strong. Upon hearing Lu Jie's words, Lin Yuan raised his brows. Lu Jie had never been a flamboyant person. On the contrary, he was unusually down-to-earth and reserved. Now that Lu Jie said that the insect queen had become very strong, it was clear that the insect queen had become much stronger than before. Lin Yuan felt very happy for Lu Jie. "Congratulations, brother Lu." When Lu Jie heard Lin Yuan congratulate him, his heart felt both a little heavy and a little relaxed. Before Lu Jie fainted, he learned about his and the insect queen's injuries. There was only one possibility for him to be able to survive from his injuries at that time. That was, Lin Yuan had immediately treated him. Therefore, when Lu Jie woke up and found out that Lin Yuan had fallen unconscious, he blamed himself. She always thought that Lin Yuan had used too much spiritual power to heal her, causing him to be in a coma for 7 days due to his severe injuries. After seeing Lin Yuan, Lu Jie felt sincerely relieved. Lu Jie felt that he was now truly qualified to be the sturdiest shield by the youth's side as he ran forward. Lin Yuan keenly noticed the change in Lu Jie's expression. Lu Jie was clearly much more confident than before. Lu Jie looked at Chu Ci, who was holding Wen Yu's arm, and immediately said, "Miss, you." Before Lu Jie could finish speaking, Chu Ci had already taken the lead and extended her hand toward him. "Big brother Lu, I've always heard Lin Yuan talk about you. I'm Chu Ci, you know." After saying that, Chu Ci winked at Lu Jie. When Lu Jie saw Chu Ci's extended hand, he put it over. His big hand wrapped around Chu Ci's small hand and shook it. "Chu Ci, I bought some fine scale star spot and fire-tailed snow base. I remember Lin Yuan said that you don't like spicy food. I'll make sweet and sour fish and honey steamed fish for you." Chu Ci, who had been dependent on Lin Yuan since childhood, was exceptionally sensitive and good at feeling other people's emotions. Chu Ci had originally felt nervous about getting to know a new family of people. However, Chu Ci could now feel full of kindness from Wen Yu and Lu Jie's emotions toward her. Both of them looked at her with the doting gaze of an elder brother and elder sister toward their younger sister. This sudden feeling of having many people care about her made Chu Ci feel warm on one hand. On the other hand, there was a somewhat astringent feeling. Chu Ci had never known what Lin Yuan was busy with every day. Every time he called, he would keep asking about her recent situation as usual. Lin Yuan was clearly not a talkative person. However, whenever he was about to hang up the phone, he would always tell her about some small things in life that were good for her health. Lin Yuan had never said that he was working hard. Now that she saw everything in front of her, Chu Ci could imagine how hard Lin Yuan had been working. At that moment, the mother of Bloodbath, Endless Summer, and Hu Quan walked out of the mansion. They had obviously heard the conversation at the door. Endless Summer quickly stepped forward and placed her hand on Lin Yuan's shoulder to sense his condition. After confirming that Lin Yuan was fine, she walked up to Chu Ci and handed her a pink-purple diamond face storage box in the shape of a flower. After Chu Ci took the face storage box, Endless Summer said, "This is all the jewelry and clothes I've collected during this period. Here are all the jewelry and clothes I've collected during this period of time. Take a look and see if there's anything you like." Upon hearing Endless Summer's words, Lin Yuan hurriedly stepped forward. He snatched the diamond face storage box that Endless Summer had handed to Chu Ci and handed it back to her. "Endless Summer, keep these things well. Don't give them to Chu Ci." Lin Yuan still remembered that Endless Summer had a period of rural non-mainstream and agricultural heavy metals before. During this period, Endless Summer had bought the most jewelry and spirit chi clothes. Chu Ci was not of age yet, and her aesthetic standards had not yet been set. If he were to learn these things from Chu Ci and Endless Summer, what would happen then? The mother of Bloodbath stood behind Endless Summer and looked at Lin Yuan's red eyes with flickering light. After seeing Lin Yuan, the mother of Bloodbath had a lot to say to him. However, it recalled Mystic Moon and the Moon Empress words and its dereliction of duty as a path protector. The mother of Bloodbath suddenly did not know what to say to Lin Yuan. First, end of this chapter. Chapter 567. Lin Yuan listened to Lu Jia talk about the opportunities and experiences he had encountered while he was unconscious. Lin Yuan patted Lu Jia's shoulder heavily to express his congratulations. Since Lu Jia had already contracted a sacred source life form, the sacred source life form in Lin Yuan's hands could be left to the mother of Bloodbath. After the meal, Lin Yuan was preparing to look for Zhou Luo to discuss some matters. When Lin Yuan returned to the mansion, the mother of Bloodbath's cell phone suddenly rang. Lin Yuan looked down and realized that the caller was none other than Gao Feng. Lin Yuan raised his brows and picked up the phone. Gao Feng said straightforwardly on the other end of the phone. "Brother, I want to make a deal with you." Lin Yuan was slightly startled when he heard Gao Feng's words. Gao Feng was usually very forthright with his words. He always exuded the demeanor of an artistic youth, appearing to be abnormally free and easy. But now, Gao Feng's words were unusually serious. Lin Yuan knew that Gao Feng really had something very important to tell him. However, since Gao Feng said that he wanted to discuss business with him seriously, Lin Yuan became serious and asked. "Gao Feng, are you representing the Gao family to discuss business with me, or are you discussing business with me yourself?" When Gao Feng heard Lin Yuan's words, he fell silent for a moment. Then, Gao Feng asked seriously. "Is there any difference between the Gao family discussing business with you and me discussing business with you?" Lin Yuan replied. "If the Gao family wants to discuss business with me, I can naturally refuse. I will also try my best to get the most benefits. If you want to talk business with me personally, I'll agree if I can do it. Just treat it as a favor for a friend." When Gao Feng heard that, he felt a surge of warmth in his heart. "Brother, it's me personally who wants to discuss business with you. It's just that this favor might be a little difficult to help. If you think it's a lot of effort, just reject me directly." During this time, Gao Feng had also found plenty of people apart from Lin Yuan. He had used almost all of his interpersonal relationships. However, he didn't receive any actual help. Upon hearing Gao Feng's words, Lin Yuan could roughly guess why Gao Feng was looking for him. Gao Feng had traded completely jade-textured wood and high-quality bronze phase from him. Therefore, even if Gao Feng avoided these two things, he still couldn't avoid being a creation master. As expected, Gao Feng continued to speak. "Brother, I wonder if you can lend me some of your creation master resources? Just name the price." As soon as Lin Yuan heard that, he knew he had guessed correctly. However, Lin Yuan's guess was slightly off. Gao Feng didn't want a specific item, but creation master resources. Lin Yuan was ultimately different from regular creation masters. Lin Yuan couldn't help but be dumbfounded. At this moment, Lin Yuan seemed to suddenly understand why Master Duanli and Wang Fuxiang had avoided choosing the Heavenly Maiden Grade elemental pearls during the group welfare auction. The dense spirit qi in the sea had allowed most of the elemental shellfish to evolve into exploding pearl shellfish. As a result, it would be impossible to find young elemental shellfish in the deep sea for a long period of time. Most factions nurtured the elemental shellfish to nurture foundational resources like the island whale. This caused the aquamarine elemental shellfish to be the elemental shellfish with the most attributes among all the elemental shellfish. The water-type elemental pearls consumed the most among all the elemental pearls. However, at a time like this, the rarer something was, the more valuable it was. It was understandable that the water-type elemental pearls had the lowest value among the elemental pearls. However, this was great news for Lin Yuan. How many water-type elemental pearls could he have? Most of the water elemental pearls he had were used to nurture the floating island whale. The other elemental pearls in Lin Yuan's possession had increased in value. At that moment, Gao Feng spoke again. I'm discussing with my father. I want to establish a rising faction and try my luck. That's why I'm building a marine fae breeding base. Brother, I won't hide it from you. I'm borrowing Creation Master resources this time because I want your Creation Master to help me nurture some insect pattern coral jade. First update, asking for monthly votes and recommendation votes. A new plot is about to begin. Hurry up. End of this chapter. Chapter 568. The Gao family has been developing deep-sea resources. During this period of time, the water world dimensional rift has released a large amount of spirit chi, causing many of the deep-sea faes to be abnormally active. This allowed the Gao family to capture plenty of production-type deep-sea faes. These newly captured large-scale production deep-sea faes are making the Gao family's creation masters crazy busy. But my marine fae breeding base has just been built, and the Gao family's creation masters are all busy. As a result, I am in a situation where I don't have any creation masters to use. Gao Feng's words were abnormally straightforward and didn't hide anything from Lin Yuan. If he built a marine fae breeding base to artificially nurture those delicate marine faes in the sea, the marine faes might be nurtured to death if he wasn't careful. The death of one marine fae meant that Gao Feng's breeding had a problem, and it was likely that a large number of marine faes would die, causing Gao Feng to lose everything. The coral jade that Gao Feng needed to be nurtured by the creation masters was made of coral jade texture. When the creation masters used high-purity spirit chi to nurture the jade-transformed coral, the polyps that made up the coral would become active and produce fine insect patterns inside the coral jade. By grinding the insect patterns and sprinkling them into the marine fae breeding base's pool, it would create a deep-sea environment. Furthermore, once the insect patterns were eaten by the marine faes, it could accelerate their growth and allow them to be in a healthy state. The insect patterns could also significantly help and promote the marine fae's breeding. Gao Feng wanted to use the insect patterns to nurture some marine faes that could be used as a mother for his marine fae breeding base. Lin Yuan pondered for a moment and said, I can help you with the insect patterns. Gao Feng's face bloomed with joy, but he was a little embarrassed. On the other side of the phone, Gao Feng's face bloomed with joy. However, Gao Feng was a little embarrassed as he whispered. Lin Yuan's spirit lock spatial zone had already poured out a space, and he had been thinking about how to use it. Lin Yuan's spirit lock spatial zone had already poured out a piece of space, and he had been thinking about how to use it. Lin Yuan's spirit lock spatial zone could only nurture the insect patterns, but it couldn't nurture the corals into ordinary coral jade. However, his spirit lock spatial zone could nurture coral jade with insect patterns, but there was no way to nurture corals into ordinary coral jade. Even with the spirit lock spatial zone, it would take a very long time to nurture the corals into ordinary coral jade. The formation of coral jade required the corals to be deposited in the deep sea for hundreds of thousands of years and nourished by the spiritual chi of heaven and earth. It was a mineral that could only be found at the bottom of the sea. Lin Yuan could buy it if he wanted to. However, the Gao family had been developing deep-sea resources, so they should have plenty of ordinary coral jades. As long as you can provide me with ordinary coral jade raw materials, I can provide you with 300 pounds of coral jade with insect patterns every 10 days. When Gao Feng heard Lin Yuan's words, his body started to cough violently. His lips trembled as he spoke. 300 pounds? Brother, I have plenty of coral jades. But 150 kilograms of worm-patterned coral jade is simply too much. Even if you can provide it for me, I can't afford it. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan asked with a thought. This marine fae breeding base was built by you. Since I can provide you with the creation master resources that you need, I will give it to you. Then why don't you think about building a bigger marine fae breeding base? When Gao Feng heard Lin Yuan's words, his eyes flickered as he vaguely understood Lin Yuan's intention. He said that he couldn't afford 150 kilograms of coral jade with insect patterns, but Lin Yuan still said that he wanted to provide him resources. It meant that Lin Yuan wanted to use the method of becoming a shareholder during the transaction to provide him with creation master resources. Gao Feng had always been very resistant to this method of becoming a shareholder. If someone became a shareholder, it would mean that a portion of the marine fey breeding base would already belong to someone else. When Gao Feng first called Lin Yuan had expressed the intention of becoming a shareholder. Even if Gao Feng treated Lin Yuan as a friend, Gao Feng wouldn't have hesitated to reject. However, it was different now, and Gao Feng was currently in the most difficult situation. Lin Yuan didn't hesitate to provide help to Gao Feng and poured in a huge amount of creation master resources that Gao Feng didn't expect. This would allow Gao Feng to establish a rising faction that would far exceed his expectations. Gao Feng muttered for a long time and gritted his teeth after making a decision. Brother, if you can provide me with 150 kilograms of coral jade with insect patterns every 10 days, you don't need to care about anything else in the marine fey breeding base. We will split the shares 50-50. Lin Yuan was shocked by Gao Feng's 50-50 split. Coral jade with insect patterns was something that couldn't form in the deep sea. Even though the spirit chi concentration in the deep sea was very high, it still couldn't reach the conditions for the coral jade to produce insect patterns. It could only be nurtured by high-class creation masters with pure spirit chi. However, the coral jade with insect patterns had very little effect and could only be considered a spiritual ingredient that was very useful for aquatic phase. Chapter 569. Gao Feng was too embarrassed to mention the heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls to Lin Yuan. Gao Feng knew that Lin Yuan had obtained a few young elemental shellfish from him and should have elemental pearls on hand. However, now that a large number of elemental shellfish had evolved into exploding pearl shellfish, elemental pearls were too precious. Gao Feng planned to secretly think of a way to get some from the Gao family. But now, Lin Yuan had poured in resources like heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls. This made Gao Feng, who was born in the richest Gao family in Wind Mist City, suddenly feel that he had found someone to rely on. This was the first time Gao Feng had felt this. However, Gao Feng felt that it was really cool. Brother, if you can provide me with resources like heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls, I'll be very grateful to you. For every heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearl you give me, I'll charge it at the current market price. It's just that after giving you 50% of the shares, I really can't give you any more shares. But I can give you 10% of the profits from the shares. What do you think, brother? Lin Yuan didn't reject Gao Feng's suggestion. Right now, he and Gao Feng were discussing a business deal, or rather, a collaboration to develop a new power together. Gao Feng took out the Gao family's rich resources and business channels in the deep sea. Meanwhile, Lin Yuan took out creation master resources. Lin Yuan would still help Gao Feng if he had to. However, when discussing business, Lin Yuan would not reject the benefits that he deserved. From Gao Feng's words, Lin Yuan could tell that Gao Feng hoped to obtain the dominance of the marine fey breeding base. Not only did Lin Yuan not object to this, but he also agreed with it. Anyway, he did not have the energy and time to develop this marine fey breeding base with Gao Feng. The best way for Lin Yuan was to wait for the dividends. Therefore, Lin Yuan said straightforwardly, even if I get 50% of the shares, I will only participate in the dividends. I will not manage it. Therefore, in the future, Brother Gao's new forces will need to be developed by you. When Gao Feng heard Lin Yuan's words, he felt that Lin Yuan was simply too particular. When he expressed his intention to discuss business with Lin Yuan immediately responded. He couldn't pretend to be ignorant like the others. Even though he was discussing business with Lin Yuan, Gao Feng felt very relaxed. After Lin Yuan and Gao Feng finalized the cooperation, Gao Feng became ordinary friends. He and Gao Feng had become ordinary friends because of the 2 deals they had made. Now, this marine fey breeding base made him and Gao Feng into a partnership. This meant that Lin Yuan could easily obtain the Gao family's deep-sea resources through Gao Feng's relationship, which was related to his own interests. After negotiating with Gao Feng, Lin Yuan didn't forget to talk about himself. "Brother Gao, can you get a top-grade angelfish of bliss from your side?" Brother of Gao smiled and said, "Brother, it's not easy to get a top-grade angelfish of bliss. If you had asked me to help you get a top-grade angelfish of bliss a month ago, I might have recommended you to try your luck at the veteran faction, the Aquarium of Bliss. But it just so happened that when the spirit chi on the surface of the sea increased a while ago, a school of angelfish of bliss floated to the surface of the deep sea that our Gao family developed and was caught. Spirit chi of a fairy fish, to say, there, but to say, it to say to, fairy to, it, to say, to, Gao. Our Gao family is also planning to nurture this batch of fairy king fish. Brother, if you want, I can get you at least 20 of them," Yi Futian said with a smile. "It's a pity that when we were capturing these angelfish of bliss, one of the best female angelfish of bliss had a belly full of fish eggs, so it fought back fiercely and suffered serious injuries. The price to treat this injured female fairy king fish was too high, and we couldn't guarantee the survival of the eggs, so we gave up." At this point, Gao Feng sighed. What a pity. Lin Yuan heard Gao Feng's words and thought. The 20 supreme-grade angelfish of bliss that had shed their fish coats would be enough for the daily consumption of the spiritual-type phase in the manor. It was a pity that Lin Yuan wanted to rear the fairy king fish of fairy king fish in the expanded artificial lake. For Lin Yuan's goal, 20 fairy king fish of fairy king fish of fairy king fish were not enough. Even if the Gao family brought all 50 fairy king fish of fairy king fish, it was still far from enough. However, he was rather interested in the injured female fairy fish that Gao Feng had mentioned. He had the spirit pool in his spirit lock spatial zone and the 3 mountain river eternal life carp's exclusive skill, place of life. Lin Yuan had absolute confidence in saving this supreme-grade angelfish of bliss and allowing the eggs in its stomach to hatch smoothly. This wasn't Lin Yuan's first time being a midwife. He had helped to deliver the spirit siphon goldfish that he had traded with Zhou Jessen in the spirit pool. "Brother Gao, I'll have to trouble you to get me 20 top-grade angelfish of bliss, including that injured female fish." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Gao Feng knew that Lin Yuan wanted to try to save this female fish, so he immediately agreed. Lin Yuan said before hanging up the phone, "It just so happens that you can send me some ordinary coral jade before the new year. I'll start cultivating them first." Every time the spirit lock spatial zone was empty, there would be a huge loss. Therefore, the spirit lock spatial zone had to be used as soon as possible. Chapter 570. Brother Zhou, since you haven't nurtured the dark snake Japalura and only signed a contract with it, Zhou Weiqing said, "Why don't you leave your dark snake Japalura with me for now? I'll help you upgrade its grade." When Zhou Luo heard Lin Yuan's words, his eyes nearly popped out. Zhou Luo did not know Lin Yuan's foundation like the others, but what Lin Yuan meant was that he wanted to upgrade the dark snake dragon lizard to legend. Regardless of whether it was at bronze or silver, the dark snake dragon lizard's quality had been upgraded to legendary quality. These were all things that Zhou Luo could only dream of in his current situation. Young master," before Zhou Luo could finish his sentence, Lin Yuan continued. "I remember that Brother Zhou still has an empty willpower rune. Brother Zhou, show me your 3rd willpower rune. At that time, Big Brother Zhou will also evolve the 2nd and 3rd phase into fantasy breeds." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Zhou Luo's face was immediately filled with joy. Zhou Luo understood that his performance in the dimensional rift outside Indigo Azure City had made Lin Yuan truly regard him as one of them. He was now ready to pour a lot of resources into himself to increase his strength. Zhou Luo had long been loyal to Lin Yuan, and receiving Lin Yuan's praise was undoubtedly his best opportunity. Zhou Luo naturally had to hold on tight. Lin Yuan smacked his lips when he sensed the 3rd willpower rune that Zhou Luo had comprehended. The willpower rune that Zhou Luo comprehended had a sticky, earthy quality to it. It was considered a rather versatile willpower rune and was very suitable for defense-type phase. During these 2 days, Lin Yuan did not work as hard as usual. Instead, he slowed down and lived a leisurely life for 2 days. After experiencing life and death, he felt the lively atmosphere in the Radiance Federation that was about to celebrate the new year. He felt that the whole world was abnormally beautiful. During the past 2 days, everyone in the manor would go shopping on the streets. As a result, the New Year's goods that were stored in the face storage boxes were enough to last until next year's. Chu Ci had also pulled Lin Yuan to paste many fortune characters in the mansion. Even the red sandalwood longevity fish tank had 2 red paper flowers that said, "More than every year." These ordinary paper flowers and fortune characters did not affect the overall beauty of the house. Instead, they made the house more cozy. Less than half a day after Lin Yuan and Gao Feng had come to an agreement, Gao Feng had arrived. Ostrich Logistics had delivered 1,500 caddies of ordinary coral jade in a face storage box. As for the 19 angelfish of bliss and the severely injured female angelfish of bliss, Gao Feng had arranged for them to be sent over as well. When the 19 supreme grade angelfish of bliss were sent over, Lin Yuan's eyes lit up. The 19 supreme grade angelfish of bliss were all covered in 5 different colors. Their tails and fins were unusually thin, like a thin layer of silver yarn. However, when the angelfish of bliss began to swim, its fins and tail would flicker with 6-colored rays of light. It was an exceptionally enchanting sight. When Lin Yuan looked at the angelfish of bliss's posture, he felt as though he was looking at a hazy young lady draped in a veil. Looking at it, it really did give him a sense of bliss. He raised these 19 supreme grade angelfish of bliss in the artificial lake. Even though the current environment of the artificial lake was different from the original living environment of the angelfish of bliss, due to the mountain river eternal life carp's exclusive skill, place of life, the angelfish of bliss was able to survive. These angelfish of bliss were abnormally comfortable in the artificial lake and didn't show any signs of discomfort. As for the dying female supreme grade angelfish of bliss, Lin Yuan raised it in the spirit pool. This female supreme grade angelfish of bliss's injuries were truly too severe. It was no wonder why the Gao family had decided to give up on this female supreme grade angelfish of bliss and didn't put in any effort to treat it. Lin Yuan saw that the female supreme grade angelfish of bliss's fins and tail were almost ground away. Due to the intense struggle when it was being caught, there were plenty of giant cracks on its body. These giant cracks were already faintly rotting. However, after 2 days of nourishment from the spirit pool's dense spirit qi, a thin layer of new flesh had already grown out from the rotting cracks. Lin Yuan had already instructed the spirit-attracting ichthyosaur, Black. He had asked Black to take care of this dying female supreme grade angelfish of bliss. Otherwise, Lin Yuan was afraid that the carcinoma fei, the sea burial lotus flower, would make a move on this female supreme grade angelfish of bliss. After 2 days of recuperation, this female supreme grade angelfish of bliss now had the strength to occasionally feed on the butterfly shell flowers at the bottom of the spirit pool. Lin Yuan just needed to wait for this female supreme grade angelfish of bliss to fully recover and expel its eggs in the spirit pool. Unlike Lin Yuan's 2 days of leisure, Hu Quan had been working overtime for the past 2 days. In the dead of night, he would use his exquisite hands to create artistic sparks. Hu Quan wasn't just working overtime for these 2 days. Ever since the forest had left Indigo Azure City, Hu Quan had never stopped working overtime. Wen Yu naturally didn't approve of Hu Quan working overtime late into the night. However, she didn't expect Hu Quan to secretly contract a special fei, the Essence Qi Sloth. The Essence Qi Sloth would normally be sleeping and accumulating Essence Qi. These Essence Qi Sloths relied on sleeping to accumulate Essence Qi. When the Essence Qi Sloth used its abilities, it would be transmitted to the contractor. Due to the difference in spiritual energy, the number of contracted feis would also be different. However, the quantity was also limited. In order to maximize their combat power, combat class spirit qi professionals needed to think carefully before contracting a fei. As a Class 5 spirit craftsman, Hu Quan decided to contract a essence chi sloth that helped him sleep just to be able to work overtime better. It was really a little willful. When you couldn't do anything about the willful Hu Quan would no longer affect his body if he didn't sleep, and when you couldn't force him to lie on the bed. Therefore, when you could only go with Hu Quan. Even when you, who had grown up in the Radiant Moon Palace and had high horizons, admired Hu Quan from the bottom of her heart. At this moment, he was convinced by Hu Quan from the bottom of his heart and was willing to sincerely call him the Liver Emperor. Hu Quan had worked overtime for half a month and had perfectly realized many of Lin Yuan's previous ideas and designs with his Class 5 spirit craftsman ability. In particular, Hu Quan had already made what was needed for the design of the rooms in Lin Yuan's Star Web private territory. Lin Yuan thought to himself as he looked at the things Hu Quan had created. He had bought his Star Web faction territory a long time ago, but it had been idle and had not been put into use. Now that everything was ready, the functions of his Star Web faction could be announced. However, Lin Yuan still had a lot of things to do during the new year. Moreover, Lin Yuan still needed to scan the things Hu Quan had made into Star Web for some arrangements. Therefore, after discussing with everyone, Lin Yuan set the time to announce the functions of the Star Web faction territory on the third day after the new year. Lin Yuan, Wen Yu, Chu Xi, Lu Jia, the mother of Bloodbath, and Endless Summer were sitting on the water rhinoceros leather sofa and watching the Guild Alliance's S-Tournament quarterfinals. As a Radiance 100 sequence member, Lu Jia told Chu Xi about the abilities and contracted phase of every 100 sequence member that appeared on the battlefield. As a member of the Radiance 100 sequence, Lu Jia naturally knew things that could not be found on Star Web. Lu Jia's explanation was an eye-opener for Chu Xi. At that moment, Lin Yuan suddenly felt a throbbing feeling coming from the depths of his soul. He heard an unusually clear and ethereal voice ringing in the depths of his soul. "My lord." Upon hearing this voice coming from the depths of his soul, Lin Yuan went straight to his room. This was because the Sacred Source Life Form, the Grace Queen, and the Sacred Source Life Form, the Enforcement Sword, had completed their fusion. Lin Yuan urged the power in the depths of his soul. Chapter 571. After summoning his Sacred Source Life Form, the girl in the knee-length dress holding a sacred sword appeared in front of him. Her eyes were closed, and her eyes were closed. The girl's tightly shut eyes trembled slightly. Just as the girl was about to open her eyes, an aura burst forth with her as the center. As his contracted Sacred Source Life Form, the aura released by Lin Yuan's Sacred Source Life Form did not affect him at all. Therefore, Lin Yuan did not feel anything special about this aura. However, the mother of Bloodbath and Endless Summer, who were sitting on the water rhinoceros leather sofa and watching the quarterfinals of the S-Tournament with everyone else, were shocked. As Myth Breed Phase, the mother of Bloodbath and Endless Summer had comprehended law runes. The aura from Lin Yuan's room made the mother of Bloodbath and Endless Summer feel as though the law runes they had comprehended had become ornaments for others to play with. They were waiting to be picked and played with. This feeling made the mother of Bloodbath and Endless Summer look at each other in shock. Both of them could see the shock in each other's eyes. When Lu Jia felt this aura, he felt the depths of his soul tremble. Since Lu Jia possessed a Sacred Source Life Form, the owner of a Sacred Source Life Form would be able to sense the aura of a Sacred Source Life Form. Lu Jia immediately knew that this aura should be the first cry of Lin Yuan's Sacred Source Life Form completing the contract. Lu Jia, who had contracted a Sacred Source Life Form, and the mother of Bloodbath and Endless Summer had comprehended law runes, could feel the aura from Lin Yuan's room the most clearly. Chu Xi, who had also comprehended a willpower rune, could also faintly feel the aura from Lin Yuan's room that made her willpower rune a little abnormal. Chu Xi immediately got up and wanted to knock on Lin Yuan's door to see what was going on inside. However, Chu Xi was stopped by the mother of Bloodbath as soon as she got up and heard it say. The mother of Bloodbath said, "Chu Xi, your brother is a creation master." Lin Yuan must have gone to work when he returned to his room. After the previous incident, not only the mother of Bloodbath, but even endless summer was also on high alert at all times. Therefore, if one wanted to encounter danger in the mansion, they would have to have a creation breed fae that was extremely good at hiding to sneak in. Otherwise, with a fae like Endless Summer and a suzerain/myth 3 fae that was good at scouting with the Enlightenment lore rune, it was impossible for a target to sneak into the mansion without being discovered. The Mother of Bloodbath was also a little curious as to why Lin Yuan's room would emit such an aura. However, the Mother of Bloodbath understood that when a creation master was working, no matter what happened, it should not disturb him. Upon hearing the Mother of Bloodbath's words, Chu Ci immediately realized that she had been too concerned. If Lin Yuan was doing the work of a creation master, Lin Yuan's knocking might cause him to be distracted and cause him to make mistakes. Although she continued to sit on the water rhinoceros leather sofa and watch the tournament duels, she would look at Lin Yuan's room door from time to time, looking a little absent-minded. Upon seeing this, the corners of Wen Yu's mouth curled up. When she recalled how Lin Yuan always talked about Chu Ci, she could not help but sigh at their sibling relationship. Lin Yuan looked at his contracted sacred source life form and felt its first cry. Lin Yuan knew that he could finally use the new sacred source life form formed by the fusion of the Grace Queen and the Sword of Punishment. Lin Yuan used Morbius True Data to check his sacred source life form's attributes. Sacred source name, Sacred Sword Wielding Queen, Sacred Source Species, Source Family, Sacred Source Species, Sacred Source Star, 0 stars, Sacred Source Type, : Lin Yuan finally knew the name of his sacred source life form. However, he realized that the sacred source lifeform's data was completely different from ordinary phase. This was because sacred source lifeforms were no longer categorized according to normal, elite, bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. Their quality was no longer divided into normal, elite, flawless, epic, and legendary. Under true data, sacred source lifeforms were categorized by star ranks. With the principle of understanding things he did not understand, Lin Yuan looked at the time. He realized that it was only 1:00 in the evening, so he called his master, the Moon Empress. The phone only rang a few times before the Moon Empress picked it up. Lin Yuan asked the question that he did not understand. When the Moon Empress heard Lin Yuan's question, she suddenly felt gratified. As a teacher, in addition to his usual question and answer practice, he finally had a chance to answer questions and dispel doubts. However, after a brief moment of gratification, the Moon Empress felt that she was neglecting her duties as a teacher. She already knew that Lin Yuan had contracted a sacred source life form, but during the question and answer exercise, she had mainly talked about sacred source lifeform's contract knowledge. She had forgotten to introduce the difference between sacred source lifeforms, ordinary phase, and source-type lifeforms. The Moon Empress explained in detail to Lin Yuan. You're right. Every sacred source lifeform has a unique and irreplaceable function. There is no absolute difference between functions, so sacred source lifeforms are no longer categorized by grade or quality. At the same time, because sacred source lifeforms do not require the contractor to fuse with a willpower rune, sacred source lifeforms are no longer categorized as fantasy breed, myth breed, or creation breed like ordinary phase and source-type lifeforms. Sacred source lifeforms have their own unique categorization. From 1 star to 12 star, there are a total of 12 grades, also known as the Sacred Source 12 stars. However, the Sacred Source lifeform star rank does not represent the Sacred Source lifeform strength, but the degree of development of the Sacred Source lifeform's functions. When a Sacred Source lifeform is newly contracted, it will have a certain function. Every time the Sacred Source lifeform increases by 3 star, it will undergo a transformation and unlock one of its functions. According to the star rank, the sporadic to 3 star Sacred Source lifeforms are known as the infant stage. The 4 star to 6 star Sacred Source lifeforms are known as the growth stage. The 7 star to 9 star Sacred Source lifeforms are known as the mature stage. The 10 star to 12 star Sacred Source lifeforms are known as the complete stage. After listening to the Moon Empress explanation, Lin Yuan immediately understood what was going on with the Sacred Source lifeform's categorization. This made Lin Yuan even more aware of the importance of knowledge. A thought suddenly appeared in Lin Yuan's mind: knowledge is power. The moment this thought appeared in Lin Yuan's mind, he felt that the willpower of knowledge in his mind seemed to have increased a little. Chapter 572. Just as Lin Yuan thought he was about to condense the knowledge-related willpower rune, something unexpected happened. However, something unexpected happened. This knowledge willpower rune that was related to knowledge did not condense as smoothly as Lin Yuan had expected. Instead, it was forcefully stuck there. If he had only been one layer away from comprehending the knowledge-related willpower rune, he would have broken a hole in it. He had already smashed a hole in the membrane and was about to drill out of it when he was caught by the membrane. This feeling of being stuck between a rock and a hard place, as if he was suspended in the air, made him rather depressed. For the first time, Lin Yuan felt that it was very difficult to comprehend a willpower rune. However, since he had a little more understanding of the knowledge-related willpower rune, he was one step closer to truly comprehending it. Unlike Lin Yuan's depression, the Moon Empress was abnormally happy after hanging up the phone. At that moment, Mystic Moon walked into the inner palace and spoke softly to the Moon Empress. "Moon Empress, I have settled the matter that you asked me to do. I can head to the Divine Wood Federation's Agon continent at any time and help your highness choose a suitable location to build the spatial tunnel." When the Moon Empress heard that, she placed the teacup on the jade table. "Mystic Moon, I remember that your sacred source life form is stuck at 8 star and is still a step away from 9 star. This time, Zishi's main body returned from the outer realm and brought you something. It might be able to help your sacred source life form break through from 8 star to 9 star and gain an additional function. Zishi's main body will arrive in a few days. It won't be too late to leave after you have a good new year and try to break through to 9 star. Mystic Moon still had that clear expression on his face, but his relaxed brows revealed the excitement in his heart. If I can really raise the sacred source life form star class to 9 star, and the sacred source life form gains a new function, the entire star web will undergo a major update. The Moon Empress nodded. The star web is a product of the combined functions of 3 sacred source life forms. As far as I know, Space Old Rao's sacred source life form, Hollow Crystal Mother Shellfish, has broken through not long ago. It seems like the first Radiance 100 sequence test on the star web will be even more exciting. After hanging up the phone, he shook his head to get rid of the gloomy feeling in his mind. Then, he checked the abilities of the sacred sword-wielding queen. Function Frowny Face Princess Form, Princess's Skirt, can extract the willpower rune from dead phase or source-type items. He also carved the will of the dead fantasy breed phase willpower rune or the myth breed phase law crystal onto the princess skirt. As for the princess's ability to extract the willpower rune from a dead fae or source-type lifeform's body, it would make it easier for Lin Yuan to gather willpower to supply the sacred sword form's sword carries. After all, even if Lin Yuan had a few law crystals now, he would not be able to get them again unless his enemies gave them to him. Otherwise, it would not be so easy to obtain them. If everyone was a type of fae, Lin Yuan felt that he was definitely a production-type fae like the Usnia. Morbius Spirit Lock Spatial Zone and the Sacred Source Life Form, the Sacred Sword Embracing Queen, allowed him to become a top-notch producer. The Sacred Sword form's ability to use willpower and law as an attack method. Lin Yuan could not help but feel that his Sacred Source Life Form was treating the superior willpower and law as a toy. Moreover, it wasn't just a feeling, but a fact. Just as Lin Yuan was checking on the Sacred Sword-wielding Queen, the Sacred Sword-wielding Queen opened its eyes and looked at him. The Sacred Sword-wielding Queen opened its eyes and looked at Lin Yuan. After the Marrow contract, the Sacred Source life form was like a newborn with super high intelligence. Its understanding of the world was still a blank piece of paper. But when the Sacred Sword-wielding monarch saw the changing expressions on her contestant's face, she felt that her contestant's brain wasn't that smart. At that moment, the newly born Sacred Source life form, Sacred Sword-wielding Queen, suddenly made up her first plan ever since she was born. Contractor's dumb brain development project. The reason why he named the pill was to treat it as an inspirational pill. By the side of the contestant, he would allow the contestant's brain to become the smartest person in the world. Lin Yuan was taken aback when he heard the sacred source lifeform's name. Isn't this name a little too ordinary? How could it be better than white? Thus, Lin Yuan gave a friendly suggestion. How about white pills? The sacred source lifeform, sacred sword-wielding queen, accepted her contractor's suggestion without rejecting it. After all, his contestant wasn't too smart, and he had already decided on the name of the pill. If he still did not accept his contractor's suggestion, it would be disrespectful in the eyes of the sacred sword-wielding queen. That would be too unreasonable. The sacred sword-wielding queen gently clenched her fists, firmly believing that she was here. Her contractor would definitely give her a better name than white pills in the future. In any case, it did not matter what color the pill was, as long as it could make the contestant smarter. It was a good medicine. Lin Yuan had not seen any other sacred source lifeforms. However, when he thought about the sacred source lifeform, the hollow crystal mother shellfish, he could confirm that the hollow crystal mother shellfish was not humanoid, but a shellfish lifeform. In addition, the sword of punishment that he had fused with two sacred source lifeforms was not humanoid, but a tool. Therefore, Lin Yuan concluded that the sacred source lifeform could take any form. Although his sacred source lifeform was humanoid, Lin Yuan realized that it was different from the humanoid form of a Myth 2 Fae. The sacred source lifeform, the sacred sword-wielding queen, was completely different from the human form of a Myth breed Fae when it reached Myth 2. The sacred sword-wielding queen was not corporeal, but a semi-corporeal existence. Suddenly, Lin Yuan remembered that his diamond Fae storage box still contained the two dead dark-type fantasy breed Faes that Endless Summer had given him. These two dead dark-type Faes were when Endless Summer had gone to protect Listen. Endless Summer had brought back the Diamond X/Fantasy 4 Dark-Eyed Scorpion Tiger and the Diamond 8/Fantasy 3 Dark Spirit Eye Tadpole. The bodies of these two dead dark-type fantasy breed Faes were preserved very well. Lin Yuan had not had time to deal with the bodies of the dead dark-eyed scorpion tiger and dark spirit eye tadpole, so he had kept them in the Fae storage box. Now was the right time to test the sacred sword-wielding queen's function in her princess form and the ability of her skirt to extract the willpower rune of the dead fantasy breed Faes. Lin Yuan summoned the dead dark-eyed scorpion tiger and dark spirit eye tadpole from his room. Fortunately, Lin Yuan's room was large enough. Otherwise, if the huge dark-eyed scorpion tiger was summoned, it might really damage the precious jade-textured wood in the room. When the sacred sword-wielding queen saw Lin Yuan summon the two dead fantasy breed Faes, it immediately revealed a pure expression of desire. His face immediately revealed a pure expression of desire, as if he had seen a delicious meal. The sacred sword-wielding queen immediately pointed at the dark-eyed scorpion tiger and dark spirit eye tadpole on the ground and asked Lin Yuan, "Can I eat them?" Her tone and expression were like a child seeing a delicious snack and asking his parent if he could try it. Lin Yuan could not help but be a little speechless. He had previously felt that the sacred sword-wielding queen was playing with willpower and laws. But now, it seemed that the willpower in the willpower rune was not qualified to be played with by the sacred sword-wielding queen. It was only treated as a kind of food. Lin Yuan nodded gladly. Of course. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's reply, the sacred sword-wielding queen carried the sacred sword and walked in front of the dark-eyed scorpion tiger and dark spirit eye tadpole. The sacred sword returned with a flash of cold light and tore open the skin and flesh of the dark-eyed scorpion tiger and dark spirit eye tadpole. Then, the sacred sword-wielding queen's plain white skirt suddenly spread out two clumps of silk. These two clumps of silk followed the wounds made by the sacred sword and drilled into the dark-eyed scorpion tiger and dark spirit eye tadpole's bodies. Chapter 574. Then, the sacred sword-hugging queen tiptoed and lifted her skirt to dance gently. Immediately after, Lin Yuan discovered that the dark-eyed scorpion tiger and dark spirit-eye tadpole, which had been injected with the threads, had a dark luster rising from their bodies. This dark luster contained a huge amount of darkness elements. It was as if the long-dead dark-eyed scorpion tiger and dark spirit-eye tadpole had been resurrected under the effect of the threads in their bodies. In less than a minute, two wills appeared in these two masses of rising dark energy. These two wills followed the two threads toward the dancing queen. Although they were both related to darkness, the dark-eyed scorpion tiger's willpower was more focused on the endless murderous intent in the dark night. The dark spirit-eye tadpole's willpower was more focused on the silence of the long night. Lin Yuan keenly noticed that as the two wills entered the princess's dress along the silk thread, the princess's dress slowly started to have color and faint veined patterns. The dark-eyed scorpion tiger and dark spirit-eye tadpole that Endless Summer had brought back were extremely powerful fantasy breed fays and had been carefully nurtured by pinnacle king-class experts. The Diamond X/Fantasy for dark-eyed scorpion tiger was almost at the level of a fantasy breed fay. However, the sacred sword-hugging queen's willpower runes in the dark-eyed scorpion tiger and dark spirit-eye tadpole were quickly absorbed by the sacred sword-hugging queen. In just 5 minutes, the long-dead fantasy breed dark-eyed scorpion tiger and dark spirit-eye tadpole no longer had any willpower that could be transmitted through the threads. Lin Yuan had been observing the dark-eyed scorpion tiger and dark spirit-eye tadpole and found that after losing their willpower, the rich dark energy in their bodies did not decrease. The corners of Lin Yuan's lips raised. It seemed that the dead fantasy breed fays that had their willpower and energy extracted by the queen's skirt did not hinder the use of their various parts as spiritual ingredients. Lin Yuan shifted his gaze from the dead dark-eyed scorpion tiger and dark spirit-eye tadpole to the sacred sword-hugging queen again. He was stunned by the sacred sword-hugging queen's appearance on the skirt. If the holy sword-wielding queen was dressed in a plain white dress, she would look exceptionally plain and untainted by the mortal world. After absorbing the wills of the dark-eyed scorpion tiger and the dark soul-eye tadpole, the sacred sword-wielding queen's dress had turned a deep black color. The aura of the sacred sword-wielding queen changed completely. Now, the queen's dress was engraved with two wills, making the queen, who was hugging the sacred sword, look like a traveler who was strolling in the night and could not find her way home. The sacred sword-wielding queen's ink-colored dress didn't seem to have that kind of thick ink-colored fabric. Like the night fog, it carried a hazy, ethereal, and graceful ink color. It was like a corner of the night sky, with the silence of the long night. However, upon closer inspection, there was a murderous aura that sent chills down one's spine. It was as if a scorpion tiger was lurking in the night, ready to attack its prey at any time. The sacred sword-wielding queen didn't just change her appearance. Under true data, Lin Yuan keenly discovered that the sacred sword-wielding queen's previous display was. The sacred source element had already changed to the darkness element. However, the star level was still 0. Lin Yuan thought to himself, is the sacred sword-wielding queen's element determined by the wills and laws it absorbs? Lin Yuan shook his hand, and a blue crystal with 2 golden engravings appeared in his hand. This crystal was the law crystal that the mother of Bloodbath had taken from the cold snow pine's body when it had just broken through to Myth 2. Just by looking at the indistinct golden mark, one could tell that the cold snow pine's law crystal should be considered the weakest law crystal produced by a Myth 2 Fae. The cold snow pine's law crystal's cold flame law was also very unorthodox. However, the cold snow pine's law crystal was more complete and had a complete law. The queen, who had just eaten the 2 wills as snacks, looked at the law crystal that suddenly appeared in her contractor's hand. Her eyes widened. When Lin Yuan saw the queen's expression, he did not wait for her to speak and immediately handed over the cold snow pine's law crystal. When the sacred sword-wielding queen received it, she felt that her contractor might not be very smart, but he was simply too good to her. Lin Yuan watched as the sacred sword-wielding queen took the law crystal. After taking the cold snow pine's law crystal, the sacred sword-hugging queen pressed it against her head. She embedded the cold snow pine's law crystal into the crown that did not have any gemstones embedded on it. In an instant, the crown seemed to be ignited with blue ice flames, and the cold snow pine's law crystal released a dazzling, ice-blue luster. The sacred sword-wielding queen's skirt fluttered, revealing the delicate crystal shoes she was wearing. Lin Yuan realized that the ink on the queen's skirt was quickly compressed, and a huge snow pine made of all kinds of runes was carved on the skirt. The pine needles ignited with an ice-blue flame, dyeing the entire skirt in an ice-blue color. The original black color gathered under the cold snow pine's veined patterns like a shadow. Lin Yuan used true data to check and found that the sacred sword-wielding queen's sacred source type had changed from dark type to ice type. It was not ice type or dark type. Lin Yuan was sure that the two dark type willpower had not disappeared from the queen's skirt. Even the willpower of two dark-type fantasy breed phase could not compare to the cold snow pine's law crystal's law crystal at Myth 2. It could be seen that the queen's sacred source type was determined by the type of willpower that she absorbed. The type of willpower that was more important would determine the queen's sacred source type. Lin Yuan saw that the sacred sword-wielding queen had changed again. Her blue skirt was embroidered with the burning cold snow pine. Her aura had also become abnormally cold. Lin Yuan could not help but feel as though he was playing a costume-changing game. Lin Yuan thought for a moment and took out his remaining two law crystals. Since they were just sitting there, he might as well throw them to the sacred sword-wielding queen. The sacred sword-wielding queen swayed her skirt. At that moment, she felt that she was the happiest sacred source life form in the world. Of the two law crystals, one had come from the crow that had ambushed Endless Summer, and the other from Nightmare 6 from the Jing family's Night Squad. They were both law crystals produced by Pinnacle Dark-type Myth 2 phase. The two golden carvings on them were very eye-catching. The sacred sword-wielding queen embedded Crow's law crystal, Night Death's law crystal, and Nightmare VI's law crystal, Dead Dream's law crystal, onto the crown on her head. Chapter 575. Immediately after, Lin Yuan felt that the space in his room was instantly dyed black by the queen's dress. It was like a long night. After another hour, all the law energy within the law crystal was absorbed by the princess's Luo Kun. The sacred sword-wielding queen changed into another appearance. When he looked at the sacred sword-wielding queen, Lin Yuan felt as though he was looking at darkness itself. It was like looking straight into the darkness at the edge of an abyss. However, the queen's dress was now engraved with two dark-type wills and two dark-type laws. Under the boundless night, the queen's dress seemed to sink into a constantly withering, dying, and repeating remnant dream. Under the night sky, the only ice-blue cedar rose from the ground, bringing a bit of vitality to the dead dream world in the darkness. On the branches of the pine tree, a crow and a bat were perched on each side, looking abnormally strange. The three law crystals embedded in the crown on the sacred sword-wielding queen's forehead had also turned pure white. The pure white law crystals flashed with a sparkling substance. Lin Yuan knew that the sparkling and translucent substance was pure nomological energy. Lin Yuan keenly discovered that under true data, the sacred sword-wielding queen had now become a one-star star. However, such a star-class increase did not surprise Lin Yuan. Instead, he felt some pressure. How much willpower and laws would the sacred source lifeform's sacred sword-wielding queen need to nurture it into a high-class existence? Unlike Lin Yuan's pressure, the sacred sword-wielding queen was abnormally satisfied. The feeling of rising stars as soon as it was born was simply too great. However, the sacred sword-wielding queen did not know that after this feast, it would not be so easy to eat such a sumptuous feast again. As for the ability of the sacred sword form, Lin Yuan thought for a moment and felt that he should not experiment with it. He had spent so much to make the dress, and now it was slashed by the sacred sword. Lin Yuan did not know if the sacred sword-wielding queen was willing to bear it, but he definitely could not bear it. No matter how he thought about it, Lin Yuan felt that the sacred sword form's ability and the sacred sword blade were out-and-out prodigal. The sacred sword-wielding queen handed the three pure white crystals containing pure law energy on the crown to Lin Yuan. "Master, this is my leftover trash. Lin Yuan nearly fainted when he heard about his sacred source life form. His sacred source life form was too crazy. Do you think this law crystal, which contains pure law energy, is trash? Countless Emperor-class experts and myth breed Fays treat it as a treasure. He couldn't even beg for it if he wanted to. However, he recalled the sacred sword-wielding queen's eating method. He suddenly felt that there was nothing wrong with the 3 pure white crystals in his hand, which contained pure nomological energy, being regarded as the excrement of the sacred sword-wielding queen. Lin Yuan carefully put away the 3 crystals. Regardless of what the sacred sword-wielding queen thought it was, if the mother of Bloodbath wanted to become a creation breed, it would definitely need this pure white crystal that contained pure law energy. Lin Yuan looked at the sacred sword-wielding queen. She was no longer dressed in white like when he had named her. Instead, it became mainly black. Lin Yuan suggested. It's not appropriate to call you White Pill now. How about Black Pill? The sacred sword-wielding queen stared at her contractor in a daze. She suddenly felt that her stupid contractor brain development plan was about to be declared bankrupt. It had only been 2 hours since she had decided on her name, and her contractor had already changed it. The sacred sword-wielding queen did not want to complain about Lin Yuan's naming ability. Compared to White Pill, Black Pill was not inferior. If Lin Yuan could change her name to Brainless Pill, perhaps she would be more useful. Lin Yuan once again left his room and sat on the water rhinoceros leather sofa to watch the tournament duel with everyone else. Everyone could clearly feel that Lin Yuan's aura had changed. Previously, Lin Yuan was a cheerful youth that people would feel very amiable at first glance. Now, Lin Yuan's original foundation was shrouded in a layer of profound mystery. The sacred sword-wielding queen was considered a part of Lin Yuan's soul. After absorbing 3 types of laws and 2 types of willpower, the inscribed laws and willpower on the sacred sword-wielding queen's dress were also affecting Lin Yuan. He used his willpower and law energy to shield him from external detection abilities. When the mother of Bloodbath and Endless Summer, as myth breed Fays, realized that they could no longer sense Lin Yuan's spirit chi professional rank. The mother of Bloodbath and Endless Summer quietly circulated the law runes in their bodies and found that they still could not accurately judge Lin Yuan's spirit chi professional rank. It was obvious that Lin Yuan had undergone a huge transformation after entering the house, allowing him to have the ability to shield himself from detection. If anyone else had such a huge improvement in such a short time, Endless Summer and the mother of Bloodbath would find it difficult and unbelievable. However, this had happened to Lin Yuan, and it had happened to him too many times. The mother of Bloodbath and Endless Summer were already used to it. After watching the tournament's matches, Chu Ci said with some reluctance. From the looks of it, the tournament doesn't have the same atmosphere as a live match. It would be great if I could watch a match live. Lu Jie suddenly thought of something and asked. On the 2nd day of the new year, there happens to be an tournament's all-star match. Although the all-star match isn't as formal and entertaining as the tournament, it's a match that all the A-class and B-class clubs participate in. If Chu Ci wants to watch the match live, I can get the tickets, and everyone can go together. Also, the highlight of the tournament is that the audience has a chance to be selected as lucky audience and get the chance to challenge the tournament celebrity members. Chu Ci was very interested in watching the match live. As a reckless defense-type spirit chi professional, she heard that there was a chance to challenge the tournament's members. Chu Ci's eyes immediately lit up as she said to Lin Yuan, "Big brother, do you want to go? Big brother, do you want to go?" Lin Yuan could not help but laugh when he heard Chu Ci's words. "It's important that you want to go, but you didn't ask me if I want to go." Chu Ci usually called him by his name. Now that she had started to call him Big Brother, Lin Yuan naturally had no reason to refuse. The 3rd day of the new year is the day when Sky City Star Web Private Faction Territory announces its functions to other rising and veteran factions. It just so happens that there's a day on the 2nd day of the new year. We can go online and watch the tournament's all-star match. Bookmark for easier reading. Chapter 576. Upon hearing that, Chu Si's face immediately revealed an excited and expectant smile. She stretched out her hand in front of her smiling face and made a, yeah, gesture to Lin Yuan. When Lin Yuan saw Chu Si's smile, he immediately smiled warmly, revealing his white teeth. Lu Jie took out his cell phone and said to Chu Si, "Then I'll go and ask for the front row tickets now." I'll go and ask for the front row tickets now. After that, Lu Jie dialed the number. Lin Yuan thought to himself. The S Tournament's All-Star match was a grand event that could almost catch up with the S Tournament finals. There were only 2 days left before the start of the All-Star match. Lu Jie could easily get the front row tickets with just one phone call. This made Lin Yuan feel that it was easier to do things with someone around. Soon, Lu Jie hung up with a strange expression and said to everyone, "I've already gotten the front row tickets for the S Tournament. I've already prepared the front row tickets for the S Tournament. There are a total of 10 tickets. When the time comes, all of us can sit together." While speaking, Lu Jie was still thinking about how depressed Biyao sounded on the phone. Is he really depressed? It's almost the new year, so why does he still sound like he's half dead? Does that live streamer called Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess really have that much magic? After disappearing for so long, she still made Biyao think about her day and night. As long as he had a little extra radiance dollars, he would send all of them to the empty live streaming room of the Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess. Lu Jie was a little puzzled. How did that damned Sundra Biyao become such a bootlicker? The Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess's recent disappearances were already faintly comparable to the news of the Radiance 100 sequence members. For example, Zhao Chun's popularity of eating at the royal capital's last buffet restaurant was ranked below the popularity of the Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess's disappearance. In Lu Jie's opinion, perhaps the Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess's disappearance for a long time was a good thing for Biyao. After a long time, Biyao might be able to walk out of his current half-dead state. At the side, Hu Quan was commanding the fantasy breed wood-weaving house centipede to devour a completely jade-textured chicken wing wood and spit out completely jade-textured silk threads with wing patterns. However, Hu Quan's attention was always on Lin Yuan's side. Looking at the interaction between Lin Yuan and Chu Si, Hu Quan could not help but sigh. Others might not know, but Hu Quan knew how many things he had created in order to complete Lin Yuan's idea of the private faction territory's interior. He had just finished making these things and showed them to Lin Yuan. He decided to announce his role as a star web private faction to the other rising and veteran factions on the 3rd. It was equivalent to opening up the star web territory to other factions. Therefore, before that, Lin Yuan had to at least set up the territory's interior. In addition, he still needed to prepare those phase for the territory's internal affairs. In Hu Quan's opinion, such a task was not easy. Under such circumstances, Lin Yuan was still willing to take out a day to watch the all-star match with Chu Si. It was enough to show how much he cared about her. In the eyes of an old-fashioned man like Hu Quan, caring about a person didn't mean that one had to appear good to that person on the surface. Instead, he was willing to unconditionally take out a lot of time to accompany her when he was clearly very busy. Hu Quan used his hand to flick the wood-weaving house centipede's carapace to stop it from slacking off and continue working. He then summoned the vitality sloth that he had just contracted not too long ago. After being summoned by Hu Quan, the vitality sloth was still a little dazed. It extended its big claws to hug Hu Quan's neck and put its head on Hu Quan's shoulder like a wife, looking a little delicate and timid in the eyes of outsiders. However, the vitality sloth was just too lazy. It closed its eyes and wanted to find a comfortable position to continue sleeping. Hu Quan carried the vitality sloth to the water rhinoceros leather sofa and sat down. The weight of Hu Quan and the vitality sloth pressed a big hole in the water rhinoceros leather sofa. Everyone looked at Hu Quan and was immediately stunned by his and the vitality sloth's posture. What kind of sweet posture is this? Wen Yu glanced at Hu Quan suspiciously and thought to herself in surprise. Hu Quan is an uncle who usually does handicrafts. Could it be that there's something wrong with his view of love after staying here for too long? That's not right either. Hu Quan seems to read a book usually too. When you felt that she should find a chance to see what kind of book Hu Quan was reading. Hu Quan reached out and patted the vitality sloth like he was coaxing a child. Pride of laziness cast primordial energy flow on the big brother sitting there holding the teacup. Lin Yuan had just picked up the teacup and was drinking Wen Yu's newly brewed Three Treasures tea. However, he suddenly felt a stream of air hit his body, making him full of energy. It was as if he had infinite energy and did not need to sleep at all tonight. Lin Yuan looked up at Hu Quan, only to see the latter winking at him. Kid, with energy, you won't feel overwhelmed when you're busy at night. As soon as Hu Quan finished speaking, everyone fell silent except for Chu Ci. The way they looked at Hu Quan became increasingly strange. Only Chu Ci was a little puzzled by everyone's reaction. She did not understand why everyone was looking at the simple and honest uncle who with such gazes. Hu Quan thought to himself, pride of laziness has cast primordial energy flow. Lin Yuan definitely won't feel sleepy tonight after being cast by his pride of laziness. Furthermore, he won't understand that he won't be energetic in the morning even if he stays up late at night. This way, Lin Yuan can use the time he has to do on Tuesday tonight. At that moment, Hu Quan was still a little reluctant. The vitality sloth's recovery of the contractor's primordial energy was only enough. Only by being busy for a while and taking a nap could he accumulate a little bit of primordial energy. However, when the vitality sloth restored primordial energy to people other than the contractor, it would cause double the consumption. The vitality sloth used up all the primordial energy it had accumulated in the past half a month when it released this primordial energy flow. Hu Quan scratched his head and thought. It seemed that he should also think of a way to increase the vitality sloth's grade. Otherwise, the current silver vitality sloth was really not enough. Even if he did not care about others and only restored his primordial energy, as long as he looked at the notebook, he would still need to sleep at night. However, if the vitality sloth could reach platinum, it should not have this concern. His Class 5 Spirit Craftsman title had not been decided yet. Why don't I paddle happy Hu Quan? At that moment, the holy sword-hugging queen's ethereal voice suddenly sounded in his mind. Master, what do you think of the name Pride of Laziness? Bookmark for easier reading. He had just heard Wen Yu talk about the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce's recent struggle with the Iron Wall Chamber of Commerce. With the help of Fei Qinxiong, the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce was constantly nibbling away at the Iron Wall Chamber of Commerce's foundation. Listen's talent. Lin Yuan was Lin. Lin, listen, Li, listening, Lin has listening to long had, listen. Listen, Lin Yuan heard said. After the Iron Wall Chamber of Commerce absorbed the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce's creation master resources and then gave them to the Zheng family's third lineage, Listen had suspected that his elder's death was not an accident. Lin Liang, Lin, G. As, Lin, was. By. Listen was sure that everything that had happened to the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce was related to the Zheng family. Understanding the truth had solved Listen's doubts and not. After the doubts and not disappeared, Listen only had hatred for the Zheng family. Young master, I have been secretly developing the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce because you have been asleep. I haven't sold the items mixed with the completely jade-textured wood powder. There is a lot of backlog now. I think it's time to take out these items mixed with the completely jade-textured wood powder. It's just that I don't think we can maximize profits if we sell these luxury items as goods. Therefore, I want to sell these items in the form of an auction. Listen's current idea was largely inspired by Lin Yuan's auction of the Heavenly Maiden Grade Elemental Pearls in the Star Web Store. He found that the pearls, which did not have much effect, could raise the price of Heavenly Maiden Grade Elemental Pearls just because they were rare and beautiful. Moreover, the bidding during the auction was indeed very easy to get people excited. Therefore, Listen wanted to make a brand out of the large number of luxury items that the listening Heron Chamber of Commerce had saved. He would then obtain the highest profits through exquisite packaging and auctions. Upon hearing Listen's words, Lin Yuan pondered for a moment before replying. Since you want to do it in the form of an auction, I wonder if you intend to build a physical auction house for the auction or enter the school on the Star Web? Listen clearly had his own clear ideas. I plan to conduct the auction on Star Web in the form of a live broadcast room. There will be live streamers showing and explaining every luxury item that will be auctioned every 24 hours. The crafting pavilion has been set up by Uncle Hu. The shapes and carvings of every object made by the Class 3 spirit craftsmen in the crafting pavilion are unique. Therefore, compared to bulk sales, this kind of unique luxury item can only be sold at a higher price in the eyes of people who are fated with it. In the beginning, this method might be a little slower. Before the live broadcast room becomes famous, the auction price might not reach expectations due to the lack of people. However, as long as we maintain the live broadcast room for a period of time, I believe that it will definitely develop greatly. I've also found a shop in the royal capital's bustling district offline. I can pick out some of the precious luxury items and auction them under the listening Heron Chamber of Commerce's and the engineering pavilion's names. As soon as Listen finished speaking, Hu Quan's eyes lit up. Although Hu Quan had only established the engineering pavilion to serve Lin Yuan, he was still very willing if he could make a name for himself. Otherwise, Hu Quan would not have had the idea of establishing the engineering pavilion at that time. Hu Quan had also carefully thought about how to make the engineering pavilion famous. However, Hu Quan's brain was only suitable for some craftsmanship and lacked a lot of other aspects. Now, Listen's idea was equivalent to directly helping Hu Quan solve this problem. The engineering pavilion only needed to continuously produce luxury items, and the listening Heron Chamber of Commerce would take care of everything else. Lin Yuan did not expect Listen's ambition to be so big that he actually wanted both. However, be it the live broadcast auction on Star Web or the auctions in the offline auction house, there were not many items that could hold down the scene. Bookmark for easier reading. Chapter 578. The completely jade-textured wood in Lin Yuan's spirit lock spatial zone was still constantly maturing. Almost all of the furniture in the manor's main residence was made of jade-textured wood, and every piece was of high quality. Therefore, there was no need for him to keep the matured completely jade-textured wood in the spirit lock spatial zone for the mansion's construction. This also made the completely jade-textured wood something that he could use to exchange for resources. He waved his hand, and 10 huge, completely jade-textured wooden boards appeared at his feet. Lin Yuan said to Listen. Since you're going to hold an online and offline auction, I'll take out some good materials and get Uncle Hu to make some good stuff for you. After saying that, Lin Yuan took out a handful of heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls with the Cloud Dream Lake Pearls essence and said to Hu Quan. Uncle Hu, what's the effect of embedding your heavenly maiden-level elemental pearls into objects made of completely jade-textured wood? Even though Hu Quan had gotten used to using completely jade-textured wood to make objects, he was still able to use it. However, Hu Quan could not help but narrow his eyes at the sight of so many completely jade-textured wood glowing with a jade-like luster. However, when she saw the heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls in Lin Yuan's hand, she was stunned. Hu Quan could not help but want to ask Lin Yuan if he was born in a golden nest and how he could take out so many good things. How can an old man like me control myself when you're like this? When Hu Quan saw the rare spiritual materials, his spirit craftsman's soul trembled with excitement. At the same time, many design ideas appeared in his mind. He hurriedly said, Even if you find a random person to press elemental pearls into a sculpture made of completely jade-textured wood, people will still want to buy it. Max out the luxury effect. But you can rest assured with the elemental pearls and completely jade-textured wood in my hands. My craftsmanship is definitely worthy of this appalling luxury. Many question marks appeared on Listen's head. In order to reach an agreement with Lin Yuan and make the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce a rising faction, he had come up with the idea of selling objects made of completely jade-textured wood powder. But why did Lin Yuan suddenly give him such a precious thing that could suppress the situation after he came up with the idea? If he really had a completely jade-textured wood sculpture inlaid with heavenly maiden-level elemental pearls, then why would he have to worry about the early stage of operations and publicity? All of these problems were easily solved. With such a level of suppression, the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce had imperceptibly risen to the level of a veteran faction. The Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce didn't have anything that could compare to the veteran factions except for these items. But with these items, the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce could put on a show that only veteran factions could. Listen had been very busy recently. He was busy recruiting and expanding the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce's staff, which had been suppressed by the Iron Wall Chamber of Commerce, and he had received the Iron Wall Chamber of Commerce's resources. In particular, Listen needed to properly handle the fair-related resources bought from the Iron Wall Chamber of Commerce as soon as possible. Listen had not planned on returning to the manor tonight. However, the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce had received a letter that forced Listen to return to the main residence and tell Lin Yuan about it in person. Listen took out a letter from the diamond face storage box and handed it to Lin Yuan. "Young master, this letter is a little strange. It should be for you. Please take a look at it yourself." Lin Yuan took the letter from Listen's hand with some doubts. He took a look and realized that there were no words on the envelope. Moreover, the letter had already been opened. It was clear that Listen had opened it and read its contents. When he opened the letter and saw the contents, he frowned. There was only one sentence in the letter. In the coastal sea outside Indigo Azure City, Jiao Hansong of the Zheng family's 3rd lineage, and Zheng Kaiyuan of the Night Patrol's 6th lineage. When he saw this message, he pondered for a moment and handed the note in the envelope to Wen Yu. Then he asked Listen, "Do you know who sent this letter?" Listen replied. This letter was found in the body of a silver-ranked messenger pigeon. A silver messenger pigeon landed on a tree in the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce's courtyard this evening. It then spat out the note in its body and prepared to fly away. At that time, Brother Zhou happened to see this scene, so he caught the silver messenger pigeon. Lin Yuan pondered for a while and had a basic judgment of this matter. The messenger pigeon was a kind of communication fey. Due to the existence of the star web, there were very few opportunities to use this kind of communication fey. Generally, it was only used when sending secret information between factions. The messenger pigeon also had a nickname among the major factions, the anonymous messenger pigeon. The messenger pigeon's communication level was extremely high. As long as it was not the messenger pigeon that took the initiative to spit out the message and someone else wanted to forcefully obtain it, then the messenger pigeon's stomach would wriggle and destroy the message in its abdomen. Lin Yuan deduced that with the messenger pigeon's speed, it would take at least 9 days to fly from Indigo Azure City to the royal capital. Therefore, this letter was written by someone not long after this incident had happened. Since he had revealed his identity to Guard Envoy C, he had asked Guard Envoy C to keep this matter a secret. As a result, the feud between him and the Zheng family had not spread, and only a few witnesses knew about this matter. These people included the 2 guard envoys, Duan He, and the Indigo Azure Guard captain. Lin Yuan felt that these people would not be so bored to do such a thing. Therefore, only one faction could know so clearly about this matter. Lin Yuan turned to look at Wen Yu. It seems like the Zheng family's interior isn't as clean as it looks on the surface. There are surging undercurrents underneath. Wen Yu spoke softly. "Young master, the contents of this note are basically the same as what I have investigated. Nightmare 6 is indeed part of the Zheng family's night patrol. There are a total of 9 members in the night patrol, and they follow the Zheng family's 3 young masters. This Nightmare 6 is a member of the night patrol who follows the Zheng family's 2nd young master, Zheng Kaiyuan. He can be considered Zheng Kaiyuan's protector. Looking at the handwriting on this note, if the person who wrote this note is the person who wants to tell us the news, then the person who wrote this note should have a very poor constitution. From the tip of the pen, it can be seen that this person's hand doesn't have much strength when writing. When you then carefully check the handwriting on the letter again and used her hand to make a few strokes on the paper, she felt that apart from the next stroke, the rest of the strokes were written at a higher position than ordinary people. It was as though the hand was holding something to write. Bookmark for easier reading. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.